Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How is everybody doing tonight? Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to time out the mods for spamming all these damn links. Oh my goodness. Anyway, you know what? Oh, there's a little bit. Okay, good. That's behind the scenes right there. Did you hear that? That was behind the scenes radio right there. You know what? Oh, there's a little bit. Oh, good. That's how that works. Please keep it clean tonight. Connie, I make no promises, representations, or otherwise. We'll see how it goes. Tonight, we're talking about the lawsuits now from the dead Chad Reed's family members. There are two lawsuits against Kyle Carruth. Kyle the killer. Kyle, the ice cold killer Carruth. I don't know. I don't know why he gets a nickname, but he does. I think anytime you've got a dead body under your belt, that anytime that happens, you got to get a nickname. It's all just marketing. Dark Lotus. Yes, we both need haircuts. I don't know what your hair looks like, but you do. I'm hoping that I can maybe sneak in and get one tomorrow. So anyway, Kyle, the ice cold killer Carruth, is being sued by the mother of Chad Reed, along with his children. So I don't know if the children are in the custody of the mother or what. We'll probably find out. He's also being sued, by the widow of Chad Reed as well. So that is the current status. We'll be looking into those filings. If you're not familiar with this is a big part of what built my channel over the years, and is actually looking through the actual filed documents in a case to see what has happened in the case, what they're claiming, to see all of these things and to find out what legal arguments are being made. Now, in a civil case, okay, so in a criminal case, your legal arguments matter to an extent, right? You want to be legally grounded in what you're doing, what you're asserting, for sure. But in a civil case, they matter a lot more. They matter a whole lot more because civil cases have a stage called summary judgment. Not every civil case is going to go to jury trial. And if they do go to jury trial, it's not going to go to jury trial on every issue. In civil cases with this summary judgment phase, you have the ability to win as a matter of law on several of the issues if there is not a material fact in dispute on the issue. Okay, so let's say you've got let's try and make this into an easy situation, right? You've got a killing. You've got a killing like Chad and Kyle. And both parties in this case are going to agree pretty quickly that Chad Reed was shot by Kyle Carruth. I don't think anybody out there is trying to assert that there's some other shooter, right? There's no grassy knoll here. It's Lubbock, Texas. I don't know if there's grassy knolls anywhere, but there's no grassy knoll shooter here. There's nothing going on like that. So you've got that fact established. You've got the facts about Chad coming up to Kyle and all of that stuff. It's all on video, right? There's going to be some admissions. Now, there may be some disputes over words that were said, or there may be disputes over whatever, but let's say that both sides of the lawsuit basically agree on the material facts. Who's involved? Who's dead? When the shots were fired? What actions led up to the shots? The only thing that you're going to have maybe some disparity on might be the state of mind. But hypothetically speaking, let's say you get into and agree on the state of mind. Even they say, oh, Chad was advancing on him, so Kyle took the shots or whatever because he felt he needed to. Okay, well, that's an admission. And now you agree with Kyle. Cool. Now what the judge does is they go, wait, we don't have any facts in dispute in this case. They both agree to the facts. So now all we have to do is apply the law that exists to those facts. And so the actual legal arguments are going to be around this. You would make a summary judgment motion and you would say, all of the facts that matter, according to me, are not in dispute in this case. They're all good. Wait a minute. What is that about a cocaine habit? Nick steals money from his followers to support an alleged cocaine habit? Dude, do you think there's any amount of money that could fill this nose with powder? What are you talking about? You got to get to reality, brother. Very weird. Very weird. Anyway, so you make the argument that there are no facts in dispute. That's the most important part of this. And then at that point, you then make the legal arguments based on the factual scenario that you say both parties agree to. And so there you're using the appellate law that we see, those case citations that people love to bring up. They're going to matter a whole lot more in the civil case. They're going to show up in some of the filings as things go on. And that is going to be a legal battleground. And if you can resolve those issues, you may never get to a jury trial on this thing. If you get it at summary judgment and you win, and you're just done. If you lose, then you go to appeals. So it's pretty important. So that's one of the things that I've done on this channel for a long time is actually read through these legal documents, see what the facts are. And in this case, there might be some alleged facts that either back up or blow up some of the background chatter we've heard about the overall shooting case. So I'm really excited to get into those. Why was he at Kyle Carruth's house to pick up the kid? Is the kid living at Kyle Carruth's house? I mean, maybe, I don't know. Why is he there? Was he, did he have some sort of privilege to be there? Maybe the kid wasn't living there, but they said, oh, you need to come pick him up at this place. So he'll definitely be here. Whoa, suddenly, and the kid's not there. Suddenly we got a different scenario, right? We've got different facts involved. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to in reading these things. It'll be important to remember thank you, Ryan. Also, that hurts. Wow. You completely threw off my chain of thought. Ryan said if Rekieta Law used cocaine, he wouldn't be as fat as he currently is. Sometimes reality is devastating. Law Nerd Clips, if you're looking for that, I believe it's at 2 hours, 17 minutes, and some seconds. Yes, I did get a shout out from Kyle Rittenhouse on the now this, not now this. Is this now this? What was that called? Are you there? Are you there? Now this is that other one. Oh God, I'm sorry. I am so sorry for mistaking those things. The Are You There podcast with Elijah Schaefer is very cool. Both he and Kyle Rittenhouse gave a nice shout out to the show. It was great. You are here. Oh my God. I feel like such a jerk. I don't mean to. You are here. They both gave a very nice shout out to my channel today at the end of their interview. I have not watched the whole interview. People did send me a link to the timestamp, so I was able to see it, which was cool. Very, very cool. But I got done streaming today and then took care of some stuff. Oh, one of the things I took care of was I set up an interview for tomorrow night. Tomorrow night show here at the late night hour will be an interview with a guy named Eric Roland. Eric Roland. He is a former sort of current, maybe former voice actor who worked with Funimation. He worked with Funimation, and he has voiced several characters. Some pretty important characters. He's voiced characters in One Piece and other anime that people have probably heard of. Snap, crackle, pop. I'm the worst with names. I'm terrible. I feel so bad. I talked to him for a while today. He's super nice. We had a really good conversation. But he is now kind of speaking out about the state of culture, where things are on a podcast of his own. And so I'm going to interview him. We're going to talk about kind of his journey and story through the tumultuous life of an anime voice actor. And he's good stuff. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what all we're going to get to in the interview, but we had a good conversation today. I think we'll have a good conversation tomorrow. So make sure to tune into that tomorrow night. It'll be great. Other than that, yes, everybody on Earth is asking me when Kyle will be on my show. That's up to him and his team. I have reached out and would be very happy and honored to have him on the show. But that is completely up to them and whatever their current plan is, right? He is running around to various locations, doing the media things. As many of you know, and I will not, shy away from this position. I am not 100% sure, or at least I was not 100% sure on the immediate tour being a good idea for Kyle. I thought maybe he should let things die down, but he is not doing that. He is going he is doing the media tour. They are going out. He is being very outspoken about his situation. I think that's the choice that they are making. And if that's the choice they're making, I'm happy to have him on the show. I did mention before that it's all about what you want to get out of these things that matters. And they clearly have some sort of plan for what they want out of the media. And that's great. So if they are doing that, then I am happy to have him on if he would come on the show. Like I said, it's up to them. They've got their own sort of plan out there. So next, what else? Oh, yes. After we're going to also go through this. Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, has terrified a law professor with one paragraph. Just one paragraph. And the law professor doesn't even know what to do. He's like, oh my God, we're all doomed. What would that paragraph be about? You're going to find out. You're going to find out today. A very learned and wise law professor will go after the Supreme Court justice for his take on something, which, by the way, I have no problem with. I make fun of Supreme Court justice opinions all the time. I think they're wrong with frequency. That's okay. They're right, though. Supreme Court justices are right in the way God is right. Like God gets to make the rules. And so therefore God is within the rules. Like, hey, Big G, I thought you said no killing anybody, but you flooded the whole earth. And he's like, well, but what you see happened was they weren't listening and stuff. And like, I told them things weren't going to go right if they didn't follow what I said, and they didn't do it. So flood. And it's like, well, but I used that when I shot the guy at the Quick Trip. And you said that was wrong. He's like, listen, this was different. You think it don't be like that, but it do. Right? That's how the, God gets to make the rules. And that's cool because when you're the creator or whatever, you get to, like, it's like when I'm playing The Sims and I just wall in a neighbor child and they just walk around until they die from exhaustion. I'm like, that was funny. No one even knew. No one even questioned why there was an extra closet in the house with no door. And then, and that's the rule you get to make. right? You're immune to any sort of fallout from that. That's how the Supreme Court is. The Supreme Court does the same thing. They wall children into little corners of their house, and they have new closets that smell after a while. No, what I really mean is that the Supreme Court gets to make the rules sometimes. They just get to change things. And so that makes them right. Like, I may disagree with their decisions, with their reasoning. Like I disagree, obviously, on Roe versus Wade. We've been talking about that lately. I think it was wrongly decided. However, that being said, Roe versus Wade is correctly decided until the Supreme Court decides it's incorrectly decided. So that being said, let's move on. And the final thing is, did Preston Poulter win? Did pegged in Preston Poulter, did he win in his lawsuit? Many of you are not familiar with Preston Poulter, and I get the joy of introducing you to this fine individual. How do I summarize very quickly who Preston is? Because again, many of you are new to the channel. You're so welcome to be here, and I can't wait. Preston's nickname is Peggy. Now, for the person who asked me to keep it clean, you may want to plug your ears for just a minute. I'm not going to get all the way into Preston. That's already been done. But I am going to give a brief sort of teaser, and we might get to the analysis of Preston later in the show. All right. So, and by the way, shout out to my Odyssey peeps. Peeps are watching on Odyssey. You guys, if you have the link to the live stream on Odyssey, it's the same link every time. So you can always just go there if you want to watch over there, if you want a little bit of a slower chat. And by slower, I don't mean like they have those slow children at play signs or anything like that. They're not wearing helmets. It's just that there's not as many people in that chat, so it doesn't move by as fast. Anyway, Preston is an independent comic book creator. And let me briefly tell you about his story. Preston was involved in this thing called Comicsgate in some way. Comicsgate was like Gamergate, only maybe equally as weird. Gamergate, if we need to go back, was about ethics in games journalism. Comicsgate was about ethics in comic book writing or hiring or something like that. Some esoteric sort of cause related to the professional comic book industry, mainly as it relates to the big two, DC and Marvel. And this was kicked off in a couple different ways by a couple different people. But one easy way to summarize it, that is easy for the normal person to understand, revolves around this guy named Ethan Van Sciver. No, I'm not crediting Ethan Van Sciver with starting Comicsgate or being the beginning. I mean, there's your boy Zach. There's all sorts of other stuff. There's guys like, what's his name? Shoot, he was on the channel at some point. People who think that there was a Comicsgate before your boy Zach. That's all for insiders, and that's great. For the outsider looking in, a very simple thing to understand is there's a guy named Ethan Van Sciver. He was a comic artist, a professional comic artist with DC Comics at his most recent major professional venue. And he is a guy who drew Green Lantern for quite a bit of time, but he also drew many of the other major properties involved in DC Comics. So if you're a comic person, you may have seen some of his original work. You may have seen him working on some other properties throughout your time looking at comics. Now, what happened to Ethan Van Sciver is, as he is working under contract at DC, he becomes a Trump supporter. And then he becomes unemployable at DC. It is very, very not safe to be an outspoken Trump supporter at one of the big two comic book houses. You just cannot be outspoken about it. You can maybe keep that private belief to yourself, you disgusting bigot, but don't sully our water cooler with your talks of Trump. And so he was politely and quietly removed from working at DC Comics. This is just a small smidgen of what is going on with Comicsgate. But basically, Comicsgate says, hey, we're a bunch of people, either creators or consumers, who want a comic book industry that is not politicized, that does not hate its customers, all of those things. Because the people who have stuck around in DC and Marvel have successfully gone onto Twitter several times and told their customers that they hate them and don't want them to buy their products. It's a bad business model, but that's what they do. They say, listen, you fat American Republican, don't you buy my woke She-Hulk Wonder Woman crossover comic? I talking about women power and how these supercharged women are the most important thing. Like, don't do that. I know they're different universes. Just bear with me, okay? I'm summarizing here. They don't buy our products if you don't want to hear about how penises make you stupid. Okay, that's what was going on in the comic industry. It's still going on in the comic industry. They still hate the people who have allowed them to exist. They hate the audience for their Marvel movies. They hate everybody because they know better, and they make a current business out of making every major comic book character progressively more gay in each new release. And I wish I was exaggerating with that, but it's happening over and over and over again. Look at the most recent Superman comic with Superman's son being a gender fluid pansexual or whatever, and you'll find it. Okay, so Comicsgate is this thing that's going on. And Preston is an independent comics creator who's somewhere kind of trying to be involved in Comicsgate. I don't know his whole story. It's not really important. What he does, though, is he starts a war inside Comicsgate by railing against the Ethan Van Skyvers or whatever. And one common tactic of Preston is to call people cucks, right? To referring to the art of cuckoldry, which you can Google that if you want, but turn on safe mode maybe, so you just get a Wikipedia definition. But he's calling people cucks, he's calling people beta males, and in the process of this, someone who you may find as on this channel by the name of Shayla, found an old video of Preston. How do I describe this in polite company? In the birthing position, and his then wife was ramming a large object into him. I apologize for the disgusting imagery, but that's what was happening. And the only reason anybody knew this is happening, this is called pegging, by the way. That's why his nickname is Peggy. The only reason anyone knew this was happening is because they released those videos to the world. They released those videos on pornographic and bondage websites, right? For the purposes of having other people watch and potentially monetizing them. I don't know what their purpose was, but that is an outcome, okay? So anyway, there's also rumored to be some cuckoldry videos as well. And again, these are not videos that someone did super elite hacker moves, right? To get to hacking into his phone, going into his private stuff. No, he's trying to kind of frame it that way, that these people have done revenge pornography against him. Sorry, no, you and your wife put those out there for money. So that's not really revenge pornography. That's you doing this on your own and someone finding it and going, hey, wait, that's the guy calling everybody a cuck. And he's getting hollow knighted by his wife. That's a weird thing. That's pretty funny. So Preston has been suing people. And the reason Preston is suing people right now, again, that's just backstory drama. about who he is. But the reason he's suing people in this particular instance is because Preston attempts to, as an independent guy, publish comics. He independently publishes his own comics, but he tries to bring some other artists under his wing. A very noble endeavor, except for one of the artists, a guy named John T. Lamont, wrote a book and illustrated a book, and they tried to crowdfund a book. And this book was about an underage child having sex with a demon that looks like a much younger underage child. And if that sounds horrifying to you, that's because it is horrifying. And some people out there said that kind of looked like pedo shit, to paraphrase, that they may not be comfortable with the type of pedophilic sort of imagery that was contained in that book. And that, that's just how it went. And again, I'm not making those assumptions. I'm going off of the actual description of the book from the GoFundMe, which specifically lists the main character as a 17-year-old teenager, and the demon succubus sex beast was called Lolita and looks young, specifically drawn to look young. And yes, there are erotic images that were displayed, thank God, at least censored on the page for I think it was, they tried to do it on Indiegogo. Now, this campaign was banned for pretty obvious reasons. They said, wall, get on the wall. So anyway, they're suing, however, over the defamation, alleged defamation of calling their work pedophilic. Good luck with that lawsuit. But there is an update in the case that has happened while the Rittenhouse stuff was going on. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about what it means. And I want to talk about a stupid thing that has also happened in relation to it, because everything is not as it seems. That's your preview for Preston. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? And as full disclosure, when Preston's various kinks first came out, were first addressed, he initially responded by trying to own the kink or whatever and talk about it. And in full disclosure, I invited him on this show because I thought it would be interesting for him to talk about with my friend Drexel. And we kind of get into these more adult themed. And by adult themed, I don't mean adult themed, because no adult should be talking about this, but that's the way it goes. These sort of erotic themed subjects from time to time. It doesn't come out right. But we invited him on the show to interview him, to talk about his at the time bold acceptance of the kink. He canceled on me by not canceling, but by simply not showing up. And I found out just a few minutes before the show, which was very, very rude, because he could have canceled on me by just saying, hey, man, I'm not going to come on. That would have been fine. That never happened. So he has been thoroughly and routinely roasted on this show, and will be ad infinitum at any chance. So I just want to get that out there. There's no misrepresentation here. That is what happened. I'm very, cool. If someone, I've had people cancel the show very late, but they at least, sent me a message and said, hey man, I can't make it. I don't want to make it right now, or I can't do it, or something came up. And it's always cool. Guys, I could get on and yak for hours about things. It's okay. I'll make it happen. But to do that. Oh, and I believe he was on another show at the time when he ghosted me too. So, So that being said, I'm always open about my biases, and my biases against Preston are myriad. All right, with that, we're gonna get into some. We got these early super chats that came in. I want to read first, and then I think we'll start with maybe the lawsuits, or maybe Gorsuch. The Gorsuch thing is going to be the quickest thing, so we might do Gorsuch real quick. Fugida 1000 says, was expelled in 8th grade for perceived threats after making fun of a kid who cried when they forgot homework. Kicked me off the property. I then walked 2 miles home to an empty house with guns. That was 3 years after Columbine. Security, theater, gun laws, and a CYA mentality make public schools a living hell. Thanks for coverage. Now go get something nice for the rackety horde. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Fugida 1000. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. You know, I had, we're talking in light of the school shooter in Michigan and how, you know, back when I was in high school, I certainly wrote and did edgy things that probably not only would make people uncomfortable, probably did make some people uncomfortable. Not because I was ever going to shoot anybody or kill anybody or anything like that. I mean, I had my quote unquote dark thoughts, but it was mostly just like how much people suck in general. It was not, well, people suck, so I need to end them. That wasn't the next step there. It was just, you know, just angsty teenager, right? Like you have a shit day, you get picked on, whatever. That's just the way high school goes. But that being said, I'm very hesitant, based on personal experience, to say that someone will be involved in like some sort of school shooting or something like that. And so, you know, I just don't think we can know these things until it actually happens. Don't forget to tell your haters that Odyssey has a dislike button. It does. It does. Sin, I was not actually a big Nirvana fan, so I would not have been listening to Nirvana full blast. Probably would have been listening to Insane Clown Posse full blast. Yeah, get it. Actually, I just had Self-Esteem by Offspring on repeat. It's not actually true. I listened to a lot of Bob Marley in high school. Trying to think through all the stuff I was listening to. Germified says, it was my birthday today. It was pretty rough. Oh man, I'm sorry. But I thought I would give a little back for the great streams you give us. They help ease my day. Thanks, Nick. I really appreciate it. Germified. Hey, buddy. If your birthday didn't go great today, have it again tomorrow. You're an adult, man. You can do that. Trust me. Make it a good one. Find a way to make it a good one. Take the day off. Do what you need to do. Take a mental health day. And by a mental health day, take a mental health day. Go to a bar, watch a soccer game you don't care about or something. Watch the Lingerie Football League with a big with a glass of scotch and enjoy life. The coolest thing, it reminds me of a joke by Jerry Seinfeld. He was talking about the difference between being a kid and being an adult, right? Don't you even bring Great Malenko into this chat. Don't you dare. He's talking about the difference between being a kid and being an adult. He's like, if I want a cookie, I have a cookie, right? It's like, my appetite's not going to be ruined. And if it is, I know there's another appetite coming right behind it, right? So he's an adult. He can eat a cookie. No one can tell him no cookie. You're an adult. You can have your birthday. Have your special birthday. If your birthday is shit, rewind, do a do-over the next day. Groundhog's Day it. Who cares? It's yours. Take it. Take it. Gunblade Knight says 2 questions. 1, who was the gamer you talked about before? Who was the gamer I talked about before? I have no idea. What context? The gamer. There's a lot of gamers. There's the one Smash Brothers guy. Or do you mean Carl Jobst? Carl Jobst and Billy Mitchell? That's one thing I've talked about a lot. But there's the Smash Brothers guy, Zeno, I think his name is, who is who is suing someone or maybe suing someone over accusations of pedophilia, something like that. So I'm not sure who you're referring to. Carl Jobst is a good dude. He's a YouTuber, got a big channel, and he talks about he's basically like a video game achievement and speedrunning journalist, an independent journalist about it. He's great. He's an absolute legend, if you will. Next, would you ever play the Ace Attorney games? I have played the first Ace Attorney game, and you can actually watch all of those playthroughs of Ace Attorney here on the channel. I probably need to put those into a playlist. And I did voice all of the characters as we played because it's the only way I could get through it while staying sane. I am not the biggest fan of visual novels. In fact, by not the biggest fan, I mean I hate them. I hate them with a passion. I know other people like them, and you are welcome to do it. I do not like playing them. So you can watch all of them if you just Google, or if you not Google, but if you go in the YouTube search on my channel and look for Ace Attorney, you'll find those streams. If you want to do that. I got to get up early, so I'll catch the answers later. Hey, good night, Gunblade Knight. I hope if that's not the person you're thinking of, email me with more details about the gamer and I can maybe answer them, or DM me or something. Vouch fan says, my name is ironic. Vouch is a retarded pedo. Nick, you got to see the 2 short clips Zach from Anxiety Ward just put up. He was mobbed at a BLM riot and had to fire a warning shot to escape. Mint footage from 2 angles. He's got another one that says, help identify my attackers. Video 3 minutes long, is first person view, and a rock solid, feared for my life self-defense statement. Sounded like he had legal coaching. Wide angle vid, first 3 minutes of man versus riot, is almost as kino as Kyle's. I guess we can take a quick peek at that. Very quick peek. Thank you, Vouch fan. Let me get that pulled up. I'm not going to EFAP this and go full into it. What the hell is this thing? Okay. So, help me identify my attackers. By Anxiety War. Okay, this is 6 days ago. Let's see what we got here. All right. This guy's got a whole lot of subscribers, man. 950,000 subscribers, something like that. Whew, that's a lot. It's amazing. Like this YouTube world, the people with like million subscribers. I've never heard of this person. And that's just how YouTube goes, right? Like it puts you in various bubbles that sometimes are hard to break out of. So here we go. Let's take a peek at what we have here.
You get the fuck off.
Get your cracker ass out of here. Wait, the guy under the mask is white.
Get the hell away. Get the hell away. Get the hell away. Get out of here. What are you doing? Get out of here. Go.
I'm going to keep this brief. The goal of this video is simple. Please help identify some of my attackers. On the night of May 30th, 2020, in Grand Rapids,
Look at this cracker. I'm kidding.
Michigan, I was severely beaten by a large group of assailants, suffered an injury, receiving multiple strikes in the head and face, the ear, the cheekbone, the jaw, and the temple. I tried my best dodging the hits, but I was outnumbered on a massive scale, and some of the hits connected very well. Again, most of the hits being to the head and face, and I was completely surrounded. They were coming from everywhere. As soon as I would dodge one hit, I would get hit somewhere else from who knows where. They were coming from everywhere all around me at the same time. And not to mention all the bottles being thrown in the air. There was a lot going on. To say I was outnumbered.
This is something similar to the Rittenhouse situation that we talked about it a little bit on the panel, but it's an important aspect of these self-defense claims. You know, it's one thing to be self-defensing when you're in your house. It's a different thing to be self-defensing in an alley, you know, in a downtown area. And it's a whole different world self-defensing out in the midst of a riot where, you know, one person, and Binger tried to do this, right? Oh, he's just a little shrimpy manlet. He can't hurt anybody. What's he going to do? Punch you, Kyle, or whatever? Yeah, I mean, maybe one person hitting you in just a Wendy's parking lot is one story. A person hitting you when there's a mob of potentially angry people who will all jump in and start stomping on you, kicking you, whatever, changes that calculation very, very quickly on the reasonable fear aspect. Wait, that's not just me 1v1ing some pedo. It's suddenly 6, 7, 15 people. And if I get knocked down, I may never stand back up. So that's yeah. It's an interesting sort of dynamic in these protest, riot, whatever you want to call them, situations.
Number it is. I was let's just say very outnumbered, overwhelmed while being beaten. I felt as though any new hit would be the end of me. What my attackers didn't know at the time they were smashing my face in is I am licensed by the state of Michigan to conceal carry a firearm. In fear for my life or great bodily harm, during the beating, I finally took out my pistol and used it in self-defense, ultimately escaping the attack and further injury or death. Victims can and do die by even single punches to the head. This has happened recently in my city. The perpetrator still not caught in this case as well. With multiple people attacking me at the same time and targeting my head and face, getting hit several times in the head and face, this attack could have been very well fatal for me. Besides the fact that I was concealed carrying while getting beaten, what my attackers also didn't realize at the time was the glasses that I was wearing were recording their faces. These glasses, however, were destroyed in the beating from the multiple strikes to my head and face, but I was able to recover the remains of them off the ground while still being attacked. Fortunately and surprisingly, the video was salvageable. If you recognize anyone in these screenshots, and I'm sure some of you will, please contact the Grand Rapids Police Department at 616-456-3400 to help identify my attackers. Email address grpdinfo@grcity.us. You can also report these people anonymously at silentobserver.org. You can submit a tip through their website, call them by phone, email, just all through their website, silentobserver.org. I'm going to leave the comments open. Media, I'm not going to talk about this case right now. I just want my attackers to be identified.
So there you go. There's the video is very short, kind of an interesting prospect here. Someone is saying this guy is just begging to be prosecuted. You know, that might not be inaccurate, frankly, because the video at this point is not very clear other than he has made admissions. He's made some admissions that he fired a shot, that he used that shot to now he has stated that he used it in self-defense, but that isn't clearly visible. He talks about a severe beating. The signs of that severe beating aren't readily apparent in this video. And the severe beating is hard to quantify in the little video that we have. But someone said or he also said there's another video of this man versus riot. Let me take a quick peek at man versus riot, just the first couple minutes of it, and see if there's any better video footage. Okay. We'll take a peek at it. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not like saying anything negative about this guy. I don't know his situation at all, but I'm also not fully endorsing the situation either, because I don't know the situation at all. But here we go. Okay, so here you can see the Fed bands or whatever that are recording everything. This is from an above angle, so this might give us more information about it. That's cool.
All right, so before I resume the video, this is me. I'm wearing the...
I don't want him to talk. Ah, damn it.
Long sleeve white shirt, black pants. This is the same incident in which you've seen footage from my perspective, because the glasses I was wearing were recording some of the attackers' faces. This isn't all of them, but this is what I have. And again, I'm not going to talk about this case on YouTube. I'm just gonna show you an alternate angle from this attack. If you recognize any of these people, please contact the Grand Rapids to identify them.
It's mostly peaceful. It's a mostly peaceful protest. Yeah, man. Kind of hard to argue. Kind of hard to argue on that one. I mean, that's a situation. The walls are closing in. He's got nowhere to go. He's being punched actively. He's been hit in the head. Yeah, I mean, that video obviously much clearer. Much clearer. First of all, let me say one thing. Don't get into this situation. Don't get into situations like this because, if he had not gotten his gun out, or if he would have fumbled the gun, someone would have picked it up. This guy could have had his life ended very quickly. So as a matter of self-preservation, you should be avoiding these situations. Not that he did anything wrong that I can see here. We don't have the moments leading up to him backing up into the frame of the camera. But that being said, I don't see anything particularly wrong, but seriously, you're one in a crowd of hundreds to thousands, and it could go very south very, very quickly. Tough spot. Someone's asking, is the warning shot bad for him? Should he have fired into someone? That's a judgment call you got to make. But I tell you what, you got 6 people. Like, look at how, we won't watch the whole video, but look at how close they are, right? Like, they're all on him. These people are on him this whole time. Can we back up just a hair? He shoots one. He may not get a second shot. If he shoots one person, he may not get that second shot off. They may not stop. It kind of saw in a way what was happening to Kyle Rittenhouse, except the difference here is that there's a whole lot more people, a whole lot closer to him. So, very, very scary situation. Play it back from 118. Sure, one more time. We'll go to 115 here.
Hey, go, guys, go!
And notice what happens after that initial reaction where he shoots into the air. They kind of scatter for a minute. He smartly gets himself collected and he runs off, and they are on him. Like, they are after him. And that's the risk when you shoot, when they're that close. When they're that close to you, if you shoot one and you actually drop someone, they may not run. They may not clear out. I mean, based on the initial view, I mean, that looks fairly justified. I mean, who knows? There's any number of things that woulda, coulda, shouldas that are involved there. I have no idea. But first glance, looks like that guy was in a rough spot, and thank goodness he dealt with it and got out of there. You don't want to be there, guys. Whew. And by the way, the reason people say that warning shots aren't advised in general is warning shots are deadly force. Okay. You have to understand that pulling a gun and pulling the trigger is deadly force under most, if not all, circumstances. All right. So you pull the gun, you pull the trigger. You have engaged in deadly force. The difference is no one's dying if you're shooting, probably if you're shooting, into the air or into the ground or something like that. So with that warning shot, are you justified in using deadly force is the question. One of the hard questions is if you fire a warning shot and then, the person was not attacking you. Are you justified in using deadly force? That's why they say that why people advise against the warning shot is because if you're not willing to put a bullet in someone, are you actually in fear of your life is the question. Well, this guy, I think, reasonably could be in fear of his life. But as Andrew Branca in the chat points out, how did he get in that situation might change that. That might change that calculus. We don't know. There's other facts involved here. But either way, he's in that situation at the time. Looks like he feels deadly force is justified, and he pulls the trigger and engages in deadly force, the same as if he had shot someone. Now, maybe wiser for him in this scenario to try and clear the people out by firing into the air. Don't know. That's a choice he made, and it seems to have worked out for him. Is he going to have a legal problem with that argument? I mean, again, based on the facts that we have, it doesn't look like that would be too much of a problem. He was surrounded and being hit. So barring some sort of crazy amount of provocation, and he was backing up, trying to run away. So, I mean, again, lots of particulars, but he used deadly force. If he's justified in using deadly force, he's legally justified in taking a warning shot. But sometimes if you take the warning shot, it's because you don't actually believe you need deadly force, right? And so you fire a warning shot to scare them. Boogie versus Frank Hassel, right? Does Boogie actually believe that he needed to use deadly force against Frank Hassel? I don't think so. I think Boogie, based on kind of the Boogie's comments and stuff like that, it looks like Boogie was trying to scare Frank Hassel, not because he was in fear for his own life, but because he thought that Frank was a menace. And that's a different sort of thing. This case does not seem to add up in that same way. So that's that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Thank you so much, Vouch Fan, for bringing that up. Very interesting situation. If there's any crazy updates on it, if he does talk about it, if there's some sort of criminal action or whatever, please let me know if you find out about it. All right. Franco Miranda says, long time no see, Nick. So Vic was canceled again over the weekend. Yes, he was. These guys better hope appeals don't go in his favor because they're making TI with prospective business relations an originally weak claim stronger. Well, they'd probably have to amend and and they'd have to add parties. It'd be a big mess. I don't know. Plus these people, I don't know that they have anything to take. So the thing is they're just not going to give up. And this might be something that we get into tomorrow with Eric Rowland, not about Vic in specific, but in how people can hold on to these causes. And the causes are their dopamine, right? These people, look at the people canceling Vic. They're these overweight, middle-aged, sad-looking women who, and look, if you're a middle-aged, overweight woman, fine. It's not inherently a big deal, right? But hold on for just a second before you get mad at me for saying that. These are these overweight, sad-looking, middle-aged women out of their work, right? They worked in cons forever. They'll talk all the time about how they worked in cons forever. They didn't build a career in conventions. They either volunteered or had a minor staff position at some con for a long time, and then now it's gone, and all they have left is this thing to latch onto, this one power that they can power that they can have over someone who is regarded as successful, who people are, find to be charismatic, who other women find to be attractive. They've got this person, they get to pedestal them in their mind, and then they get to knock them off the pedestal with their awesome Twitter power. And that is intoxicating for them, because everything else they do on Twitter is literally talk about their mental illnesses. And I'm not joking. I'm not even making fun of them. I'm just talking about reality. They'll sit and talk about their mental illnesses. No one will like it. No, they might get an aw shucks girl every now and then from one of their other mentally ill, neurotic friends who is in the same sad state of life that they're stuck in, middle-aged, overweight, probably not married, careerless, husbandless, childless, sad lives. And that's the reality that a lot of women who were lied to by culture are facing as they are approaching this thing. Oh, you can put blue hair on and scream about how men are terrible until you're blue in the face. You don't need no man. You got a career. Oh, I'm sorry. You picked the D lotto ticket that never wins, and your career was literally just staff at an anime convention for 20 years, not realizing that you were never going to own one. So now you're dead-egged, empty-nested, no husband, no happiness. Not that you need a husband to be happy, but if you don't have a husband, you better have something. And these people only have cats and mental illness and prescription meds. And so when they get the opportunity to have power over someone, they're like, oh, thank God, this is supplementing my Xanax or whatever. They take it. And then when their life calms down after they get a bunch of attention, like, oh, I got 1,000 likes on that tweet. That was amazing. And then they post their next thing about how they hate whatever, and it's something no one cares about, and they get 2 likes. And then that goes on for a month. Well, guess what happens a month later when they're feeling down, they're feeling sad, and they're feeling depressed? They go to their victory zone. They go back against the same person they had successfully talked about before. But what they don't realize is that the success isn't rooted in them. The success is rooted in the hatred of their target. They're just a person in the crowd throwing an additional stone at that whore who's buried up to her neck, right? Going, yeah, bitch. That's them. It's the modern day sort of version of that mob mentality. It just plays out on Twitter, and they're adding, and then the 3 people around him pat him on the shoulder and say, yeah, good throw. Good throw. Nice hurling that stone, buddy. Right? This is where they go because it's their comfort. It's where they've won before. You won't peel that away from them unless they win somewhere else. And everybody has this safety mechanism. Most people don't do it by ruining someone else on Twitter, right? Maybe it's a video game you played a whole lot and you're really good at and you have good nostalgia for, and you have just a shit month at work or you get laid off or something, you got some time and you're like, God damn, I'm going to just go, you know what? I think I'll go revisit that game. Yeah, I remember having fun with that. And you go and you get a win. You get a win for yourself. And it's temporary, but it helps. It helps you get through something. And then you might go back to it. Those sorts of temporary wins are things people go back to a lot. They just go back to them a lot because it's easy. It's not hard. You know, the hard victories, right? Those are the ones that are self-improvement. Those are self-sustaining. Those are the things where people don't actually care or like what you're doing, but it's good for you. And as it builds up, if you stick with it, people will start looking at the results and they'll start respecting what happened and they'll start encouraging you. But results in reality take time and effort. You don't just walk out to them. Like think about the guy who turns himself from a fat guy into a big swole like monster, right? That took probably years of effort, and people weren't seeing the weight loss. You know, maybe they didn't even see the guy. They're just still thinking that fat, nerdy guy from high school or whatever. And then suddenly they see him like 8 months later where he's been doing nothing but eating creatine and drinking gallons of water at a time and then bench pressing all day, every day. And they're like, oh, man, you're looking good, man. You're looking jacked. That's awesome. They don't realize this guy's been in the gym for 4 or 5 hours a day, every single day, like depression lifting through it, trying to improve himself. That's how progress works. all these people want to short circuit that. And we all do. We all do. We like that short circuit to dopamine, and that's where people get stuck. So we'll probably be talking about this more, a lot more tomorrow with Eric Rowland. But, that's where these sad mobs live. Okay, that's enough pontificating there. Next, Zara BP says, "You're a great man, Nick. Thanks for everything." I don't know about great, but I'll take it. Too High Strung says, "I heard C Goody 564 likes men." Woo-hoo-hoo. Spicy. Very spicy. What do we got? Stephen Oglesby says, "Love your channel. Donation for your next bottle of scotch." Hey, thank you. Thank you. Next is Redrick Lasser says, "I remember being in second grade and drew a stick man shooting another stick man after the teacher yelled at me and someone told the teacher, and their reaction was basically, 'Not cool, don't do that.' How times change." Niku Yasha says, "Nick, did you hear about the Sony VP got caught soliciting a minor?" Yeah, well, not a real minor, right? A fake one, a catfish. But yeah, I heard about that. Charles M says, "Andrew Bronca simping for Nick in the chat." Awesome. Welcome. Ryan Clark says, "Always dug the circle jerks. Got to see them Saturday." Okay. And then Franco Miranda says, "Let's just hope Chief Justice Sutterth, Womack, and Wallach do the right thing. Here's to the order being released this month or next year." Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe Thursday. We'll see. All right, let's do the quick Gorsuch thing. This is not a long topic. So stop it. Okay. Stupid article. Share screen with you guys. Bam. This is oh my God. This is an opinion piece from The Hill. Neil Gorsuch's terrifying paragraph. This is written by Andrew Kopelman. He's an opinion contributor. I did look this guy up because I was like, who the hell is this? He is the John Paul Stevens Professor of Law and Professor of Political Science at Northwestern University. He would be the John Paul Stevens Professor of Law, wouldn't he? Oh my God. You want to see this guy? Look, you're with your girl at a bar, and this guy comes up and grabs your ass. What you do? Okay, so there you go. That's him. All right. So this is Andrew Kopelman. He is the John Paul Stevens Professor of Law and Political Science at Northwestern University. He says, "I am terrified by a paragraph that Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote a few weeks ago. Wait till you read it. You should be too. He and two other justices think the Constitution forbids states from imposing on religious dissenters the kind of vaccination requirements that freed the United States from diphtheria, measles, and polio. If these judges have their way, those diseases may come back." These Supreme Court justices, in their ignorance, think the Constitution forbids states from imposing on religious dissenters. You could just stop there, right? You could just stop there and go, of course it does. Of course it does. Religious dissent founded this nation. Of course it does. All right. A bit of a background. In June, Justice Samuel Alito, joined by Gorsuch and Justice Clarence Thomas, the trio, the triad, declared that the free exercise clause of the First Amendment should be understood to hold that a law that imposes a substantial burden on the exercise of religion must be narrowly tailored to serve a compelling interest. This is strict scrutiny. Strict scrutiny being applied to an enumerated right in the First Amendment is not new, is not revolutionary. It's actually, at this point, basic constitutional law. You're talking about the free exercise of religion being a highly protected civil right, because of course it is. Of course it is. This is the same as content-based speech, viewpoint-based discrimination of speech, right? Viewpoint-based censorship of speech, where this is the same test of them trying to make a law that says, if I say all Republicans are turbo cucks, it's because I called out Republicans. That is the viewpoint based, right? Or opinion, this idea that it's the viewpoint that I'm taking is the offensive part. They have to go through the same strict scrutiny to restrict that speech. They have to have a compelling interest, and the regulation must be narrowly tailored to serve that compelling interest. So here we go. The compelling interest test is, this court has said, the most demanding test known to constitutional law. It means that a right has been infringed. The party challenging the law will probably win, and the government has a heavy burden of proof. Yes, exactly. The court has never defined what counts as a compelling interest. Generally, it has relied on common sense, an interest that any reasonable person would understand to be very important. This is not an accurate depiction of compelling interest, okay? It's best understood in the other context. This is a law professor. He should be explaining this better. But you have a legitimate government interest, okay? That is one interest that the government has, something that it is constitutionally authorized to do. Mint money, incur public debt, provide for the general defense. These are important. These are legitimate government interests. Okay. The next, that's called a rational basis test. You have to be rationally related to a legitimate government interest. It's the lowest bar. It's where many, many laws that government passes sit, because these don't really infringe on rights most of the time. This is some sort of attenuated infringement of the right. So they say, no, the government has a legitimate interest in managing public health. So therefore, the government can speak out, can buy some ad space about promoting masks. There you go. You have a legitimate government interest in promoting public health, and then you have something rationally related to it. The government thinks masks work. They get to talk about masks. Cool. All good. They get to use some government resources on it. Fine. Next, you go to intermediate scrutiny, which was created because they got tired of losing to strict scrutiny. But long story short, intermediate scrutiny must be an important government interest. It's got to be important. So not just legitimate, but it's got to be something above legitimacy. Something a little bit more interesting to the United States. And then strict scrutiny is compelling. So not only is it legitimate, not only is it important, but it's compelling that the government act on this. Protecting the lives of the citizenry is a compelling government interest, for example. And it's what they're going to argue is a compelling government interest in any vaccine related thing. They're going to say, well, this is how we protect the lives of the people. The hard part of the test comes in that narrowly tailored. Is this the least restrictive means to getting to our compelling government interest? Is this the least restricted way of getting our regulation to work? Is there some other less restrictive measure that we could take to quote unquote save lives, for example? If there is, then you're going to lose. So he could have really explained this. I mean, he's a law professor. I'm a YouTuber. I barely remember these things without looking them up. And I didn't read the article because who needs to? I know exactly what it's going to say. But But yeah, so I'm giving you an on-the-fly definition. This is a law professor writing an op-ed in the Hill. He could have spent one paragraph explaining what it really is. And it certainly is not an interest that any reasonable person would understand to be very important. That's not a compelling government interest. Typically, you have to have an enumerated power. Like if Congress is passing a law, it should probably be something really related to something in Article 1, Section 8, or maybe Section 9 of the Constitution. And then you have to have that least restrictive means or, anyway, here we go. Most litigation turns on whether the law proposes to do. Most litigation turns on whether what the law proposes to do is really all that necessary to the end the state is pursuing. Whether, for instance, prison security, obviously a compelling interest, is really jeopardized if Muslim inmates grow half-inch beards. Now you start to see the political bent in this one. But compelling interest is the indispensable starting point. Unless the state can point to such an interest, it will automatically lose. Now, here is the paragraph. In October, the court declined to block Maine's requirement that healthcare workers be vaccinated against the coronavirus, notwithstanding their religious objections. So they weren't blocking all mandated vaccines, only the religious objection to the vaccine. Only the small subset of people who say, wait, I have a strongly held belief that says that I should not have this vaccine. That's a small amount of people, okay? Gorsuch, dissenting, joined Thomas and Alito, wrote the following. So the court didn't block that, by the way. The court says, I don't care if you have a strongly held belief, you can be mandated to have the vaccine. Thank you, Supreme Court. Thank you. Very, very good. Great job. All right, here we go. This is the paragraph that so scares this law professor. Quote, I accept that what we said 11 months ago remains true today. That stemming the spread of COVID-19 qualifies as a compelling interest. Remember that whole thing up above where he's like, the compelling interest, you got to get to the compelling interest. Gorsuch flat out says, yeah, stopping an epidemic is a compelling government interest. It relates directly to public health. It's saving the lives of the citizenry. It provides for the common defense from threats, both foreign and domestic. This one comes from China or whatever. So they have a compelling reason, right? So he's been bitching this whole time about the compelling nature of it. Gorsuch just flat out admitted to it. Remember, this guy is scared of this. Okay, qualifies as a compelling interest. At the same time, I would acknowledge that this interest cannot qualify as such forever. It won't always be compelling. Uh-oh. Back when we decided Roman Catholic diocese, there were no widely distributed vaccines. Today, there are 3. At that time, the country had comparably few treatments for those suffering with the disease. Today, we have additional treatments and more appear near. If human nature and history teach anything, it is that civil liberties face grave risks when governments proclaim indefinite states of emergency. This law professor is scared of that last line. If human nature and history teach anything, it is that civil liberties face grave risks when governments proclaim indefinite states of emergency. And we, of course, do, because the government's power is no longer that of a constitutional republic under an emergency. We see constitutional rights stamped out constantly in states of emergency. When those states of emergency become indefinite, the Constitution isn't worth the paper it's written on. It's not even suitable for toilet paper at that point. It's just useless. Plus, I think it's like papyrus. Seems like that would chafe or something. But this is what these are the people teaching the next generation law and politics. It's important to know your enemy. The enemy is not this guy. If If this was your enemy, would you ever be scared of it? Would you ever be afraid of that? Like that guy comes up and says, hey man, I heard you've been talking shit about my girl. You know what I'm saying? He comes up and says that. Are you scared of this guy ever in any situation? It's a Muppet. It's not that. It's what's up here. It's what's up here. It's these ideas. It's the inflated attention being given. Oh, I'm a law professor. Oh, you're a law professor? Why? Why? Why do we listen to you? What about that makes you an authority on anything? You teach a bunch of idiots coming through your school how to do a thing. Great. So do lots of people. That's fine. We'd never be scared of this. We're only scared of the inordinate amount of power and perceived authority this person has because they have two fake words attached to their name. Two fake words that are all appeal to authority fallacies. It's a walking fallacy, and it's law and professor. Because this guy is professing about the law, and he's doing it incorrectly, and he's not recognizing that this is the correct statement from Gorsuch. This isn't even controversial. This statement is just a statement of what is. Yeah, by the way, when a government suspends constitutional protections, if they do that indefinitely, that's actually bad for the people. It's actually bad for the people if they suspend constitutional protections. So maybe that's all we need to consider. Real quick, he says, it is hard to know what future Gorsuch imagines. Is it hard to know? I mean, you have dystopia, you have tyrannical regimes all over the globe. Look at Venezuela. Look at Nicaragua. Look at Russia. Look at China. Look at North Korea. Look at Cambodia. Look at Vietnam. Look at Sri Lanka. Look at fucking Singapore, right? I mean, some of these places are better off than others, but they all have these insane restrictions. And people who live there live in terror of their governments because they don't have. Look at Australia. Yeah. I was talking more long-term ones, but Australia is a great short-term example too. Hard to know what future he imagines. The one where you can't Here, let me help you. What's your fucking name? Kopelman. Let me help you, Kopelman. Here's the future he imagines. It's one where the government has never ended its COVID state of emergency and can inject you by force with whatever it wants because it says it's an emergency. That's the future he imagines. It's not hard to imagine. It's literally here. It's literally here right now. You don't have to imagine. Just go outside. Just open your eyes like, damn. When he wrote that, COVID-19 was killing 1,000 Americans every day. Yeah, I'm sorry, but your constitutional rights don't stop because people die. In fact, your constitutional rights exist through people dying because they're rights, not privileges, not licenses, not grants from the government. They're rights given to you by God, nature's God, by the creator, by Vishnu, by Arby's. It doesn't matter who gave you the rights. You have them by very merit of your birth, by surviving the abortion mill, you spewing yourself out down your mom's natural slip and slide. Suddenly you get all these rights and you get them no matter what. That's the one thing that separates America from everywhere else on the damn planet is that you made it out. You made it out. You kicked your way past those labia and you fell out into the earth screaming. And because of that, we go, yeah, this guy did it. This guy made it. Now he gets to speak. He gets a gun if he wants one. We can't put soldiers in his house. He has a right to security in his persons, property, and papers. He has the right to due process. We can't just kill him or lock him up. He has a right to an attorney because if we try and kill him and lock him up, someone smarter than his dumbass who got in that situation gets to argue on his behalf. Those things we give them, we don't even give them to you. We just recognize that they exist because you made it out. You got out of that uterine prison. Let's go full men's rights here. You busted out of that uterus jail. And so you get these things. You survived Planned Parenthood. You made it. Doesn't matter at this point. You could be abandoned. You could be adopted. You could be sold into some sort of trafficking and escape. Anything that you're going to get those rights. You're going to have them. They were instilled in you. They're woven into your DNA. USA does that. Or at least it did. At least it's supposed to. And it does that no matter how many people die, no matter how many old people you cough on or whatever, you get to keep that. Because if you don't get to keep that, then you never had it in the first place. It's why we still get to travel when travel is inherently dangerous. Travel is horrifically dangerous to a human, by the way. Has been forever. One of the riskiest things you can do is go somewhere. You're leaving your territory that you know. You're introducing yourselves to all sorts of dangers and variables, most notably other people, and other people are broken. It's why you still get to own property. By the way, owning property is probably the second most dangerous thing you can do after leaving your property. You still get to own it. Even though on your own property, you're exposed to myriad hazards. Try doing the dishes. Try doing the dishes with music on and trip over the dishwasher. More people die from that. More people die from their dishwasher than die from rifles. But you still get to own your house. It's insane. These people are crazy. This is why the founder said, hey, you know what? Some weirdo, I had a vision. Some weirdo named Kopelman is going to, in the future, he's going to argue that people shouldn't have rights because someone else died. That sounds stupid. We better take these things and write them down like, look, you might be restricting some rights, but these ones you don't get. Like, we're going to just write these down so you realize, no, we really mean it. We really mean it here. That's what they did. They took that stuff out of the democratic process. They took that away from the weasels like Kopelman. They said, you're going to need a lot of support to get rid of these things. Or one activist court. But that's a different rant for a different day. All right, here we go. The wonderful new interventions he cites so triumphantly have been less successful than everyone had hoped. Have they? Have they, Kopelman? Can you say that? Can you actually say that? And first of all, less successful doesn't mean not successful. It just means less successful than the propaganda. And you have to consider that it's similarly propagandized. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And by the way, you have a president and a Fauci, whatever that fucker is. You have these two things saying that doctors who have done their independent research and have come to a different conclusion than them aren't real doctors, that they're quacks, that they can't possibly be right. How do you fight with that? You get two artificial authorities. One of them doesn't even remember his own name most of the time. The other one says, I am the science. These two people we're supposed to credibly accept what they say uncritically. And doctors who disagree with them are labeled as what? They're labeled as not real. Like they're relegated to being Australia. In large part because of the very vaccine resistance he is trying to abet. Again, I don't care if the vaccine is 100% effective and also spawns a trail of success into the person's life where they get vaccinated and they're like, haha, I'm immune to COVID and cancer. And I also grew 8 inches of muscle mass in my arms. I'm a super Chad now. And I got a job with a $300,000 starting salary. And someone says, but I don't want that though. Then they don't have to have it. That's what a right means. Rights are risk. Rights are inherent risk. Your speech has a risk. Someone might not like it. Someone might not like you. Someone might try to hit you because of what you say. Someone might try and ruin your career based off of what you say. Someone might kill you for what you've said. It's your right. That's what makes it worth keeping. All right. Gorsuch is, one hopes, not fool enough to think that the disease is about to be eradicated. If that is right, then he can only mean that the level of death will decline to a point that is acceptable to him. So acceptable that the state will no longer have a compelling interest in preventing those deaths. Yes, kind of like the speed limit. The state doesn't even need a compelling interest to reduce the speed limit to 5 miles an hour. You want to prevent basically all highway fatalities? 5 mile an hour speed limit. Not only that, mandate that car manufacturers cannot make cars that go over 5 miles an hour. Just do it. Just get rid of road travel altogether. Everything's a city bus or a train or a plane. That's it. You will eliminate 99.9% of travel fatalities. Just do that. There you go. Why don't they do that? Oh, because there's an acceptable level of death. Because of course there is. There's always an acceptable level of death. One is too many. Yeah, I mean, in some cute little philosophic way, yes, one death is too many. No one believes this on earth, that one is too many. Most people are fine with the fact that lots of people die to bring you your stupid reality television shows. Tons of people die, especially if they're on set with Alec Baldwin. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about linemen who work on the electrical lines. I'm talking about people, the foresters who clear the path for the electrical lines. I'm talking about people who work on radio antennas and get cooked because the signal's too high. All sorts of shit can go wrong. And just to bring you reruns of Seinfeld and Law and Order or whatever, we're like, look, if one person dies involved in TV production, you got to shut the whole thing down. No more TV. No one on earth was like, well, I mean, let's be real here. I never liked Earl anyway. He's fine. I mean, I'm sorry that he was chasing a squirrel down a telephone pole and he hit the ground first. Like, that sucks. But you gotta watch me some Real Housewives. Yes. And he will vote to order religious exemptions, even if the state proves that people will die as a result. Are you terrified yet? No. No, I'm not terrified yet. And I won't be ever terrified of the fact that the state, what terrifies me is that the state might actually win. That's what terrifies me. That's the one thing that has always terrified me, is that the state might win. It might come out on top in a question of my rights. It's the most terrifying prospect of all. And if you don't agree, please keep watching the channel. I will help you out of that bootlicking status state that you are stuck in, that you've been propagandized into, that you have been lied into for your entire life. I will help you. We're friendly here. All right. That's all I'm going to do on that one. He's first of all, his legal analysis is flat out bad. His legal analysis is flat out bad. It's incomplete and it's backwards. But are you noticing that yet? Are you noticing that everybody on a particular side of these issues, they're arguing from the backwards end of it. They're arguing the opposite of what you know to be true, of what you feel to be true, of the logic of all of these things. Well, just think how bad it would be if the government couldn't force me to do something. Oh, God, what a hellhole. Someone might not get vaccinated. Well, that sucks. Oh, well. You're going to see that. You are seeing it everywhere right now. That is what's going on. It is the tactic du jour, tactic du temps. If we're French, don't be French. Okay, let's go to this next thing. Let me find it real quick. Oh, you son of a bitch. Hold on. I gotta get my documents back up here. Where's my order history? You have to buy these because it's Texas. And they logged me out, which is just freaking annoying. And they don't have an... I don't want that. I should have downloaded these earlier, but I didn't think they would actually, that it would actually kick me out. So, just a second. I spent like $2 on these documents. Okay, let me get this pulled up. Oh my gosh. Let's just put it in here for now. Okay. Here's this one. Which one should we start with? Should we start with his mom or with his widow? Woo! Are these both? So Tony Busby. David Kirby is the other lawyer. I don't know either of these people. The mom? The widow? I think the widow is probably going to be the more interesting one personally. So I'm overriding whoever says mom and I'm going with widow. They're not the same woman. Nope. Jennifer Reed is his widow and his mom is Jinx Reed. Yes, Jinx. All right, here we go. I'm going to share screen. Boom. All right. Oh, shoot. Seth Covington sent a Woot sticker. Thank you for that. Ryan79 says wall for Fauci. Willie Fisterbottom. Why would you name yourself Willie Fisterbottom? Says legal advice needed. The chips I bought won't fit through the top of the salsa jar. Would this be filed under civil or criminal? If I ate them anyway, is it still admissible hearsay? Please pray for me during this difficult time. No, let me help you out. This is a simple solution. What you do is you put on white pants, okay, and you hold the chip over your lap and you pour the salsa onto the chip. Nothing could go wrong with this plan. Nothing could go wrong with that. All right, here we go. Plaintiff's first amended petition. So this is from Jennifer Marie Reed. This is the widow of Chad Reed. And what I'm looking for in this document, what I want to see is if there are any facts to corroborate any of the background information that we've heard rumored, right? Was he supposed to do the pickup here? Was there some string of text messages? Was he lured to the property? Do we get any evidence of these sort of setup things? That's what I'm looking for. Also, I'm looking for any statements that she says were made that are not audible on the video. Those are the things I'm after. Whatever you're after is on you. But, the videos tell a lot of this story, but I'm interested in what isn't captured on the video, which means the stuff before the event and the stuff during the event that's not either visible or audible. Or I'm looking for a really stupid admission that can damage their civil or the criminal case. criminal case that doesn't actually exist yet, but may exist in the future. And by the way, quick endorsement, this Hill Rock Estate bourbon is very, very good. Even if it is from New York. This is really good. I would strongly recommend it. The bottle is Chadley also, very, very stout, but it's a good bourbon. I like it. Okay, plaintiff's first amended petition. So there was an original petition. I didn't get it because I'm going to just go with the first amended. Plaintiff Jennifer Marie Reed files this first amended petition against defendants William Kyle Carruth individually and doing business as WC Land Services and Vitruvian Development LLC, and in support of her cause of action, respectfully shows this honorable court the following. Now, first of all, the reason you go after the land services and Vitruvian Development or whatever is because this guy has a business. He's a business owner. Lots of small business owners or business owners in general can make themselves asset poor. And in Texas, it's already very hard to collect against a debtor. So you want to find deeper pockets that are not asset poor and that are not protected by the debtor's protections you would find for an individual, right? In Texas, you can't force someone to sell their home or their car or their clothes or their stuff or anything. And they just get to flip you off. Pretty much. It's really hard to collect debts on individuals, but companies are a different story. This guy Kyle allegedly works from his home. So this happens at his home, sure, but also at his workplace where he has employees during the workday. So they're going to try and tie that in to pierce the veil of the LLC and to make his businesses, well, no, not to pierce the veil of the LLC, to try and impute liability upon the business. Is he acting in a business capacity to the point where liability is extended upon that business? That's what they want because that's where they get the money. Chad Reed and his wife, plaintiff Jennifer Reed, went to Chad's ex-wife's place of business. Notice the framing, right? Place of business that also is a home, but place of business, to locate the whereabouts of Chad's youngest son. Chad was supposed to have custody of his son that day and dropped by his ex-wife's place of work to either find his son or speak to his ex-wife about his son's whereabouts. Let's be very clear. It kind of looks like he did not have the ability to be there based on a custody order. It kind of looks like he went there to find his son, which implies that that's not where his son was supposed to be. So for now, I think we should put that rumor to bed in the analysis. Oh, he had a right to be there to get his son. It's not in a court document, because if it was in a court document, you'd think a careful drafting would say, this is where the designated pickup time and place were. That's why he was there. But they don't say that. And by the way, the lawyer doing this is Tony Busby. He's a famous, accomplished lawyer in Houston, Texas. This guy is not a slouch. He's not a rando. He's a little eccentric. He takes on some high-profile cases. But this is not someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Unfortunately, Chad's ex-wife, Christina Reed, refused to tell Chad where his son was. She had routinely acted in such a manner to the point where Chad was frustrated with her continued violations of the custodial arrangement. The two argued. Okay, so this is a good detail for Chad that we didn't actually know. You could kind of guess, but we were only guessing. There's allegedly continued violations. This seems to be a pattern for Christina. She's not cooperative. This isn't the first time his son has been late for delivery or obscured. So again, I try to call it fair, right? People may think that I have a bias towards Kyle here. The only bias I have towards Kyle is just my brain thinking like a defense attorney in his criminal case. In this case, I don't care. I don't actually have any interest in Kyle. I don't care about if he goes to prison tomorrow. It won't make my day any different. All right. So I want to be clear about that, and I'll attempt to be fair. My brain at the previous thing is how do Brain defend Kyle, because Kyle is defendant in the criminal case. The two argued. While they argued, and without any provocation, defendant William Kyle Carruth interjected himself into the conversation. Interesting. I didn't know you needed provocation to interject yourself into a conversation. He then went inside the place of business and returned with a gun. Carruth and Chad then argued. Carruth fired a shot in Chad's direction. The men struggled and then separated. When they separated, Carruth fired at Chad, killing him. Okay, now, before we go on, I want you to just read that paragraph and ask yourself if that is an accurate depiction of the events. Whatever side you fall on this, see if that is an accurate depiction of the events. That's a great paragraph. That is an excellently written paragraph, because it's kind of true. A little bit. Kind of true. They left out the parts where he was told to leave. They left out the parts of the physical contact between Chad and Kyle. They left out the part where Kyle walked up to Chad's property. And again, they can do this. They can do this. It's Kyle's job. It's Kyle's job to put those facts in dispute. And that's something I mentioned earlier. At the very beginning of the show, I talked about when you're in civil law, you have this opportunity to make a legal argument, or you have an opportunity to make a jury argument. The legal argument comes if you're going for summary judgment. That means that there are no material facts in dispute. Well, this whole paragraph just screams, dispute me harder, Daddy. Please dispute me. Because they probably don't want to go to summary judgment on this. They want to go to a jury, in my opinion. I might be wrong, but they probably want to go to a jury. They want to engender the emotion of the death. They want to engender the emotion of a man who is not allowed access to his son by a vindictive ex-bitch. And then her little shrimpy boyfriend comes out and shoots him mercilessly. They want that emotion to come through a jury. You're not going to get that emotion in summary judgment. So you create a situation where they have to dispute the factual retelling. And then if you have disputes of fact, those have to go to the jury or a judge, if you choose a judge, but I'm guessing they're going to choose a jury. They're going to go to the jury, and then you're going to get past that summary judgment. Law of self-defense. Please don't use nipple rubbing in my chat. That is very, very offensive. And it's banned for... I kid. Chad Reed was unarmed. He had no history of violence. Chad Reed has 2 assault charges. I don't know if they resulted in convictions, but 2 arrests for assault. That might come up. If you say he's got no history of violence, they can certainly try to raise that history. They get to maybe dispute it. He had never physically harmed his ex-wife, Christina. That may be true. Because I think I don't know the timelines of his marriages, but it seemed like his assault and domestic assault charges were from a time before they were married. Chad Reed and his ex-wife, Christina, were simply arguing like they had done many times before. But this time was different. Wait. They're just doing the same thing as always, except it was different. This time, Kyle Carruth interjected himself into the familial argument. He unnecessarily brought a gun. Kyle Carruth needlessly escalated the situation. Chad Reed only approached Carruth aggressively after Carruth fired a weapon in Chad's direction. Here we have an admission. See, they're saying He only approached Carruth aggressively after Carruth fired a weapon in his direction. One, I think that's in dispute. Two, they're admitting that leading up to the shooting, he approached him aggressively. That's an admission you may not want to have in there. I don't know why they put that in there. Either maintain the fact that he didn't approach him aggressively or he did. I don't know about that. Even after the two men briefly struggled, Chad Reed was no longer within arm's distance of Carruth when the killing shot was fired. A big part of Andrew Branca's argument right here, of course, and an important thing to consider. He's somewhere around 10 feet away by estimates from video. Who knows how far it actually is? 10 feet away has been kind of the accepted estimate there, but he's definitely not within arm's reach. He's unarmed. Is he a threat? That's the question. Defendant William Kyle Carruth killed Chad Wayne Reed. Notice they went to serial killer mode here. Let's use all three names for these guys suddenly. Very weird. Carruth was not standing his ground. He was not acting in self-defense. Carruth had played out this situation in his mind. Kyle Carruth and Christina Reed were coworkers. They also were involved in an ongoing affair with one another. So Carruth had played out this situation in his mind. You couldn't write this shit in federal court, by the way. You might get really in trouble with this. He has talked about what he would do to Chad when speaking with others. Oh, has he? That's interesting. Do we have those others? Do we have those statements? See, this could be really interesting information about this scenario, right? And stuff we don't know from the video. Kyle Carruth was the aggressor who needlessly escalated an otherwise nonviolent situation, leading to the wrongful death of Chad Wayne Reed. Now, the risk of the jury trial here is that you do have a big man screaming at his small ex-wife, right? Like, yeah, she was allegedly hiding the kid from him. Yes, all of those things. But on video, you have a large man screaming at his ex-wife, and in this complaint, they've said that this is how it always goes. It's how it always happens. They're just arguing, bruh. A jury might look at that and go, wait, so this guy has a history of arguing with a small woman like this? You get a jury that is simping for the woman, and suddenly you get an interesting result, right? Might not go as planned. Not always, of course. You don't know what jury you're going to have, but that's a risk. It's a calculated risk, I would guess. Shockingly, Carruth has not been arrested. No grand jury has been convened. The Lubbock District Attorney has recused, and no criminal proceedings have been initiated. Plaintiff Jennifer Marie Reed brings this case seeking justice for her husband, Chad Reed. Every Texan has the right to defend themselves and their property, right? You got to tell the Texans that we're not against self-defense and we're not against property defense. No one, however, has the right to interject themselves into someone else's conversation. I think they went too far on that one. No one has a right to grab a gun and shoot someone in cold blood. No one has a right to plan to execute the ex of their lover, right? You go with something like that. I don't know about this one. Return and bring a gun to an otherwise nonviolent argument, escalate the argument to violence, creating a violent situation, and then shoot and kill an unarmed man. This is a clunky sentence. I don't like it at all. I get what he's going for. I'm just not a fan of the writing style there. Okay, CBDX.com says, another great stream. We love you. Code is NOSE for 20% off for the goods that get you stoned legally. CBDX.com. You guys can check them out. Thank you for the super chat. By the way, I am just waiting for a response on if we can make something happen and not put anything in jeopardy. That's all, CBDX. I'm not ignoring you. Very, very appreciative of you guys. Plaintiff Jennifer Marie Reed, individual residing in Lubbock County, Texas. She's surviving spouse of Chad Reed, blah, blah, blah. William Kyle Carruth. Carruth is an individual in Lubbock County. Vitruvian Development LLC is a limited liability company based in Lubbock. Discovery and control plan is level 2. I won't get into what that means because I don't remember off the top of my head. But Texas has these pre-established discovery control plans that you can use. You can just use the court sort of templates for discovery. And this is number 2. You can actually look them up. They're publicly accessible. I just don't know what it is. So damages sought are within the jurisdictional limits of the court. They're currently seeking monetary relief in excess of $1 million. Jurisdiction. Court has subject matter jurisdiction because it involves amount in excess of the minimum jurisdictional limits of the court. Case is not removable pursuant to 28 USC 1441B. These are not diverse parties. They're both in Texas. It's not a federal question. This is going to be in state court. Court has personal jurisdiction because he's a Texas resident. Venue is property. Resident. Interestingly, in Gavin McInnes's lawsuit that Ron Coleman used, he used the word resident. And resident was not sufficient for the court in federal court there, but probably not a big deal. Venue is proper in Lubbock County, Texas, under Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code. Plus, this is a murder. Oh man, prejudiced. This is an act that clearly happened in Texas and would likely be, stuck in Texas. So causes of action: negligence, gross negligence. Plaintiff incorporates the above paragraphs of set forth in full below. Defendants owed Chad Reed a reasonable duty of care to act as reasonably prudent person would under the circumstances. So this is the first cause of action. They're saying it was negligent. I mean, I don't think he negligently fired the weapon into him. Reasonable duty of care to act as a reasonably prudent person would act under the circumstances. On the occasion in question, defendants breached their duty of care owed to Chad Reed, which collectively and severally constituted negligence and gross negligence. Defendants' imprudent acts included, but were not limited to, shooting at Chad Reed even though no physical threat to life or property existed at the time. Using a gun, even though no physical threat of life or property existed at the time. Discharging a firearm in the presence of others. Discharging a firearm to intimidate and threaten an individual, even though no physical threat to life or property existed at the time. Starting an unnecessary verbal and physical confrontation with Chad Reed. I thought the confrontation was already ongoing. Interjecting himself into matters that did not concern him. Now, a question. This is a weird one, right? Do you have to be married to someone to interject yourself into an argument that involves them? I mean, they've alleged that this is a coworker with whom he was having an affair. So he has romantic involvement with this coworker. That's 2 relationships that may merit the injection or interjection of, lots of injection meriting probably going on in that household, but interjection going on, right? If you have a coworker, now I don't necessarily recommend this, but a lot of people would, if they have a female coworker, they know have an ex-husband, and the ex-husband is out there screaming at them on like the sidewalk outside of the building, someone can go up and say, "Hey man, what the hell's the problem?" A lot of people would. I'm not saying you should, but a lot of people might do that. And that wouldn't be unreasonable for someone to do. Like that'd be a common occurrence, I would think. Again, I kind of maybe advise against getting involved in other people's domestic stuff because you don't know the score, right? You may have heard one side of the story, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know. That's a self-preservation thing too. You know, if that guy's packing and he pulls out a gun and shoots you for what? Don't yell at this woman. Blam, you're dead. Wait. No, thank you. Right? No, thank you for me. But depending on the circumstances, how well you know the person, yeah, you might interject. If they're someone you're sleeping with, that changes the calculation a whole lot. Failing to de-escalate the situation when he had an opportunity to do so and after he had escalated the situation. Interjecting himself into a verbal and non-threatening dispute that did not involve him. Threatening Chad Reed with bodily harm, even though no physical threat to life or property existed at the time. I mean, you get to say whatever you want. Again, I don't see a threat to Chad Reed from Kyle Carruth until he shoots. And then I don't know if that's so much as a threat as deadly force, but maybe that's what they mean. Brandishing a firearm, even though no physical threat to life or property existed at the time. I didn't personally see brandishing, but people disagree. Threatening to kill or cause serious bodily harm to Chad Reed before the occurrence in question. When did this happen? Engaging in an extramarital affair with Christina Reed that resulted in ill will towards Chad Reed. Is that negligence now? Banging your ex is now negligence? I mean, yeah. I mean, it might be negligence, but in a different way, I think, than they're talking about. Lying that he shot Chad Reed in self-defense when such is false. Well, how is that negligent towards Chad Reed? Attempting to cover up his crimes after the fact. Okay. These are kind of inflammatory. This is why state pleadings are fun. You can say all sorts of shit in state pleadings. JDT says, does brandishing necessitate pointing a gun at someone? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Engaging in the aforementioned conduct while working for his business and while acting in a professional capacity, contributing to the events described herein that contributed to Chad Reed's death. Said acts of negligence and gross negligence were the proximate cause of Chad Reed's injuries and death. Defendant's actions were knowing, reckless, willful, indifferent, or malicious. Wait. Doesn't that necessarily make them not negligent? Knowing, willfully indifferent, malicious, and reckless isn't negligence. That's recklessness. Plaintiff thus seeks punitive damages because the conduct referenced constitutes a felony. There is no cap on the punitive damages. Civil assault. Defendants committed civil assault on Chad Reed. Specifically, defendants intentionally or knowingly caused physical contact with Chad Reed when defendants knew or should have reasonably known that Chad Reed would regard such contact as offensive. That's civil battery. That's not civil assault. As a proximate cause of the assault, plaintiff has suffered damages as described herein. The moment you touch tips, that's a battery. Plaintiff's harm also arises as a result of conduct that violates several sections of Texas Penal Code. So terroristic threat, murder, capital murder, manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide. I highly fucking doubt it. I don't think you get to murder or capital murder. Maybe you get to manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide. Maybe. I don't know what the negligent act is. These are weird. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. This might be a case where you actually have IIED. Okay, this is a tough one, but the intentional infliction of emotional distress is murdering or killing someone's partner in front of them for the purposes of causing them distress. It's intentionally inflicted emotional distress. Makes sense. Defendants engage in conduct that is extreme and outrageous so as to exceed the bounds of decency in a civilized society. That's the standard. This is the standard for intentional infliction. Namely, he caused Chad Reed and plaintiff to experience mental suffering by shooting and killing Chad Reed in the presence of plaintiff as described herein. Defendant engaged in this conduct intentionally, knowingly, and willfully. These are important. That's intentional infliction. Defendant's conduct proximately caused injury to plaintiff and Chad Reed. Plaintiff and Chad Reed therefore have sustained or will sustain pain and suffering and psychological and emotional distress, mental anguish, embarrassment, and humiliation. Yeah. Accordingly, plaintiff and Chad Reed are entitled to recover against defendants for the damages proximately caused by defendant's conduct in amount to be determined at trial. Furthermore, because plaintiff and Chad Reed's harm arises as a result of conduct that violates several sections of the penal code, in addition to actual damages, they get punitive damages that are not capped. So this is a pretty good claim. I mean, there are defenses to this claim. The other two claims, I'm having kind of some trouble with. Negligence. The assault, I mean, I kind of see. They call it an assault. I would call it a battery, but this one's pretty good. Negligence per se. Defendant's conduct was negligent per se because of a breach of duty imposed by statute. The breach caused Chad Reed's death. So they're saying that since there are statutes that make the activity illegal, they allege, it's not necessarily true, they don't have a conviction. See, this is where you want a conviction under your belt, right? And this is the risk. It's the risk of bringing this case early. Like, you might win on this prior, but you also might get a defendant who says, "Hey, judge, can we wait and see? We don't have a conviction on any of this stuff." And the judge may stay it out. But if you don't have a conviction, it's a lot harder to prove that they violated a statute, especially in a case where you got a dead body, right? Oh, you got a dead body, but they didn't even charge him? Or even worse, if a grand jury refuses to indict, that could be a problem. Chad Reed is within a class of individuals intended to be protected by the statute. These statutes are ones for which tort liability may be imposed, blah, blah, blah. So damages. All right, so here's their damages. Pecuniary loss, that's money. Involving but not limited to loss of advice and counsel, care, maintenance, support, services, and earning capacity, as well as reasonable contributions of pecuniary value. Plaintiff or any heirs would, in reasonable probability, have received from Chad Reed had he lived. Conscious mental anguish and suffering. Mental anguish suffered as a result. Loss of companionship in society. Loss resulting from Chad Reed's death, including but not limited to love, companionship, comfort, and society that plaintiff and descendants heirs would, in reasonable probability, have experienced if Chad Reed had lived. Loss of inheritance. The earnings, if any, of Chad Reed in excess of the amount he would have used for his support of himself. Medical and death expenses. So, you got a funeral, any sort of body processing. Damages sought herein are directed and are approximate result of the foregoing events, etc., etc. Not going to keep reading it. Jury trial is demanded, and they ask for relief of $100 million, but they wrote $50 million. Which one do you mean, Busby? This is the amended complaint. Tony Busby, do you mean 100 million or 50 million for actual damages for pecuniary losses? Okay, there we go. Obviously, $100 million is way out of the question. Chad Reed is aged. He doesn't appear to be a particularly high net worth or high income earner, right? Like, that doesn't seem to be the case. What's going to justify even $50 million? Look, you get these calculations, right? When someone dies, well, what's their economic value? What's their salary? Do they have anything special that makes them worth more of a salary? How old are they? What are their earning years left? What are they likely to earn in those years? What are their investments likely to do? Those are the economic questions. Now, pain and suffering, mental anguish, those are different. But on the economic aspect, your life has a value that can be determined. Ask Attorney Tom. His job is to determine the value of various human lives. All right, so that is Kyle's wife. No, Chad Reed's ex-wife. Chad Reed's current wife. Widow? Chad Reed's widow. Now we're on to Chad Reed's mom and children. The mom as the next friend of the children, which is interesting because the mom of Chad Reed doesn't seem to, in my knowledge, have any custody of the children. But maybe we're wrong. We'll find out. To the Honorable Judge, Jinx Reed, discovery level 3 on this one. That's different. Jinx Reed. So this is a different attorney. So we're going to get a different style of writing here. You can already see it looks different. Plaintiff Jinx Reed is the surviving natural mother of Chad Reed. Minor plaintiffs are the minor natural sons of the deceased. And plaintiff Macy Reed is the natural daughter of deceased. So it must not be a minor. Defendant William Kyle Carruth is an individual in Lubbock County. And then his companies, 3 companies this time. Jurisdiction and venue, over $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Facts. Let's see what facts the mom has. Metaphorist, I wouldn't call myself an ICP fan, but I might have been in a prior life. On or about, never a juggalo, though. Juggalos are degenerate and disgusting. And juggalo women are giant. On or about November 5th, 2021, William Kyle Carruth shot and killed an unarmed Chad Reed in Lubbock County, Texas. The shooting took place at the premises of Defendant's Corporation's offices, believed abode of Defendant Carruth, and property owned by Defendant Carruth's parents. Defendant Carruth, on the date in question, shot and killed an unarmed Chad Reed as Chad Reed was on the premises in an attempt to locate his child, who was to have been with him under a court-ordered custodial arrangement. In the process of a non-physical dispute between Chad Reed and his ex-wife, Christina, Defendant Carruth took it upon himself to go into the building and come out with a firearm and confront Chad Reed, while Chad Reed was not a threat to Defendant Carruth or any other person on property. Defendant Carruth ultimately used the firearm to end the life of an unarmed Chad Reed in a cold, methodical, and calculated manner. Count the unarmed. We're at what? We're at 3 now? What are they focusing on? What are they trying to tell a jury or a judge? What are they worried about here? Man, this one glossed over that confrontation way more than the other one, right? A cold, methodical, and calculated manner. After shooting Chad Reed, Defendant Carruth casually stood on the porch arguing with Chad Reed's wife, Jennifer, who had videotaped the incident and who became vocal after the shooting of her husband. After shooting Chad Reed, Defendant Carruth rendered no aid to Chad Reed, nor did he even attempt to have someone else attempt to save the life of Chad Reed. We are thin on facts here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wrongful death suit. And you're going to have 3 paragraphs of facts? Whew. Yeah, this is an interesting one because he casually stood on the porch arguing with Jennifer. Jennifer casually sat in the car arguing with him. She didn't seem flustered at all. Now, when she gets out of the car and walks up, you hear her scream when the camera's black. It's kind of, I mean, it's a weird situation. And again, you play the video and you might say, yeah, no one was screaming. Seeking Truth and Wisdom says, I told you that the lawyer is a buffoon. In fairness to me, I didn't see you say that. But yeah, that's a short fact section. So negligence, individually and in his capacity as owner, operator, blah, 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 had a reasonable duty of care. Now, what's missing from both of these lawsuits that I've seen so far, there is barely any argument about why the businesses themselves are liable. They don't allege facts that would support the conclusion automatically that the businesses are liable for the conduct. Look, if someone commits a tort on business grounds, even if they're working at the time, that doesn't automatically make the business responsible for their property or for their conduct. Their conduct has to be within sort of the scope of the business relationship. So they have to be acting as an employee to get vicarious liability or employer-employee agent principal relationship. You have to somehow establish. They're not even trying to establish it. They're just saying, oh, well, he's owner of a company and having on their premises. So that doesn't make the company liable. They should have spent some time fleshing this out. I mean, I think it's a thin prospect because usually part of your business is not going out and shooting someone. However, I mentioned before, I made an argument about how you might intervene on behalf of a coworker, right? Someone you work with is being accosted by someone out on the street, you might intervene because of the working relationship. They didn't even try that. They didn't do anything to establish that the businesses might be liable. Weird oversight, in my opinion. So we've got the same thing here, failing to call authorities, leaving the building with a firearm to confront Chad Reed while he was no threat to life or property, failing to render aid, using deadly force while unarmed, escalating, exiting and returning to escalate a situation that was otherwise a verbal dispute into a deadly shooting, interfering with the custodial rights of a father governed under a court order, using lethal force. And again, they don't have any facts here that Kyle Carruth interfered with custodial rights of a father. So you've got to claim that all of these 12 bullet points have to be supported by these 3 paragraphs, and they don't do it. That's a problem that they've got. Negligence per se, assault by infliction of bodily injury, assault by offensive physical contact, threat of bodily injury, gross negligence, non-individual defendant's liability. So this is the vicarious liability for the employer. Plaintiffs would show that entity defendants are vicariously liable for the actions of their owner, member, officer, and or employee. Defendant Carruth's above described actions/inactions took place at the corporate offices of the closely held entities in front of employees and during working hours. Again, this isn't the standard. So typically you would be, you want to lay out the legal requirement. God damn it. You want to lay out the legal requirements for vicarious liability. You want to inform the court of the elements of vicarious liability and rope in the facts and say, this is how the facts comport with that. But they don't. They don't do that. So, okay. So these guys are trying to get, damages here. Loving father and son continue to suffer in such future. They don't even ask for an amount. Just in excess of $1 million. They demand a jury. They ask for a final judgment. Okay. Kirby and Wade PC. There we go. Not much to this one. Not a lot to that lawsuit. Okay, so what did we learn? We learned nothing about anything that wasn't heard on the video. We get no new statements. We get no clarifications of things said. Very unhelpful. We learned, I think, that he was not at the designated pickup point for the kid. Can we agree on that? Can we agree on the idea that right now no one other than the internet is alleging that he had some right to be on the property because that's where his kid was supposed to be? Can we agree on that at this point? I mean, I think I said that before. A lot of people resisted that, but and Andrew Branca has stated that it ultimately doesn't matter to the question of self-defense, which is true. It doesn't. But a lot of people are holding on to that theory. Well, he had a right to be there because his kid is there. He's kidnapping the kid. They're holding the kid in this secret location or whatever. Doesn't seem to be any evidence or allegation of that. No nipple rubbing in the document is very depressing. They need to start watching these shows. We've gone through this stuff. We talk about the electric nipples, the static that builds between two men about to engage in mortal combat. You can almost imagine some sad dime store or truck stop novel about the erotic nipple rubbing between two men as written from a female observer. Gross. Okay. That's that. That's Kyle Carruth and Chad Reed. I've talked about my perspective on the self-defense situation. Someone today sent me a message and asked if I stand by my statements. Well, yes, of course I stand by my statements. If other evidence arises, and I was hoping to see something interesting in these documents to help, but there was really nothing either way, completely neutral. If other evidence arises, I may change my position on it. But for now, I stick with my answer because I haven't seen anything new. If I see something new, happy to modify and incorporate that into my analysis. And so far I haven't done so. So, but yeah, it is interesting to see this this unfold. The fact sections of these lawsuits are depressing. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see better support for their position. I didn't want to see glossed over realities of the confrontation. Now, I get why you write it in this way, because if Kyle Carruth inadequately responds, then you win. But Kyle Carruth, if he hires competent counsel, hopefully for him, will obliterate the thing. But there's one other wrinkle of this that I haven't talked about. Jim Satala says, place of business open to the public. Maybe. I don't know what their business model is. But public accommodations are a specific category of a thing, and you can still be excluded from a public accommodation. Absolutely. But the thing is, the question is not whether Chad Reed had a right to be on the grass where he was, because he did at some point have a right to walk up on the grass. Once you're told to leave, that right is extinguished. Now, I have said whether or not the kid is there, whether or not they're in violation of a court order, whether or not, they've got some statement that that's a pickup place. If it's your property, you can ask someone to leave. They have to then take that up with the court. They have to get the court to issue a subsequent order that can be enforced probably by a sheriff or whatever. That's my statement on this. But I don't think anybody's disputing the fact that he has the right to walk up onto the grass of the property unless there's a big sign that says, no, Chad Reed, you can't come in. I don't think that exists. So they drive up, he walks up, he's kind of in this area out front. But once he's told to leave, that's gone. Even if it's a place of public accommodation, it's gone. If you go into a Hot Topic and start peeing on the clothes, right? Like, they can tell you to get out. It's amazing how that works. So I was hoping to get something new out of these documents, and there's nothing new in them. In fact, they're woefully sparse, and that makes me sad because I really want to know more of this story. Okay, what's next? Pegston. Now, I gave you a preview of what Pegston Poulter, who he is, and what this lawsuit is about, right? There is another case too. Do you guys remember that there's a case against Critical K, a YouTuber named Critical K? It's a defamation case against Karen Yax, aka Critical K. I've talked about it a little bit. You may not remember this case, and that's okay, because Critical K is an exceedingly irrelevant and completely forgettable person. But I just want to give a brief update in that. Critical K filed a motion to dismiss the defamation case. Critical K failed on that motion. So the defamation case is proceeding forward against Critical K. And I can only imagine that she is strangling cat after cat. Thank God she's probably got a hefty supply, but in her frustration of that lawsuit, that it has not been dismissed, that she will be moving forward to at least a summary judgment, if not the trial phase, has to be terrifying for her. Hey, Ethan Van Sciver. What's up, buddy? No, I'm about to do Preston Poulter stuff right now. How you doing, guys? Ethan's in the chat. Ethan is a good friend, and I enjoy talking to him very much. So that being said, Ethan is one of the parties to this Preston Poulter lawsuit. Now, let me give you the quick and dirty background on the lawsuit itself. I gave you the quick and dirty, very dirty background about Preston Poulter earlier. We talked about how Preston Poulter was exposed both physically and metaphorically for having his wife peg him on videos that they then distributed on the internet. He was routinely mocked and correctly mocked for doing so. And in the mockery, and again, mocked solely based on his representations as an alpha male who was not a cuck, calling other people cucks and beta males while laying down in the birthing position saying, "Make me whiter, big mama," or whatever he said. I don't know. Gross. That being said, the nature of the lawsuit involves this comic book that I was talking about, written by John T. Lamont. John Lamont is a amateur comic artist who teamed up with Preston to crowdfund and then self-publish a book. The Indiegogo campaign was shut down by Indiegogo or by them. I don't really know. It was shut down after only a few days. It had raised a whopping $24. Now, Preston wrote this book, or not Preston, John T. Lamont wrote this book, and he wrote the description on the Indiegogo. Let's do this. I'm not going to pull this up, but let me read the description to you. Indiegogo, John T. Lamont. What is this thing called? It was it Dominatrix or something? Does anybody remember what this stupid book was called? I mean, I have the document somewhere. I just wanted to read the Indiegogo description. Demonatrix. Thank you. Yes. Indiegogo Demonatrix. Man, where is it? Oh my gosh. I've seen this thing 100 times. Oh, where is it? Damn. Was it Kickstarter? Wasn't Kickstarter, was it? It was on Kickstarter. These idiots put it on Kickstarter? Oh, God. Okay. I found it. I found it. So here, just as a brief look, this is Demonatrix #1 canceled. Comicsgate TM. Oh, apparently trademarked. And Optical Illusion Studios presents the Demonatrix, a Daz 3D adult action adventure comic written by John Lamont. Okay. Now I have to be very careful about how I show this because some of the stuff on here is not great. So here is one of the covers. This is a censored version. This is one of the covers. Reminder that this protagonist is a minor, as we'll talk about in a minute, and this demon is named Lolita. This is the same sort of shitty art that you would find on the adult Steam games, right? Where it's like my college frat party, and it's just a sex game or whatever. It also had nude renders of the minor in the 3D model art. Here's another image of the protagonist, a different reimagined image. If that looks like a child, that's because it does. Okay. Here's a different variant cover, and this one may be the most disturbing. Again, it is censored. Steel yourselves, brothers. There you go. And now if you notice that this looks like, a child, a literal fucking child, that's because it does look like a child. And you have all sorts of weird nude stuff happening. Now, that being said, I'm not going to show any more pictures. I'm just going to read you the story. Okay? This is important to know. Preston Poulter and John Lamont. This is the story that they put on Kickstarter. They wrote this. Those guys either did or hired someone to write this synopsis. I'm reading it direct. Oh, I can show you. This way you can verify. I don't want to misrepresent anything. These guys are litigious. Emerald May Riley was a typical 17-year-old growing up with her overbearing evangelical father. While having a sleepover with her best friend Jasmine, she thought it would be fun to read from an ancient occult book. Instead, she summoned the violent and sex-crazed demon Lolita. It should be a comma here, but who took over her body, murdered her father, and sent her friend to the hospital. With the police and the heavenly host quick to track her down, Lolita leaves Emerald's body behind to take the rap and embark on a drug and sex-crazed trip through the modern metropolis. The Demonatrix is a Days 3D adult action adventure comic story featuring 36 beautiful full-color pages. Plus, I partnered with 2 very talented Daz 3D artists to produce some variant covers. All backers of $5 or more will receive a Kickstarter exclusive PDF. Okay, so there you go. This is now when some other individuals, Dean Asif, Vicky, and Ethan Van Sciver talked about this. There were some words stated. I'm not going to attribute any specific words to any specific party because I don't remember. I think Ethan said the least about this because he wasn't on the live stream the entire time. He was only on the live stream briefly, but the summary of sort of statements about this is this kind of looks like pedo shit. And I think the summary of Ethan's statements was, hey, I represent Comicsgate. I protect the trademark, and I don't want that trademark being used on pedo shit. To paraphrase the people involved, I think that's basically the story. And so John Lamont and Preston Poulter have now sued Dean Asif, Vicky, I don't remember her last name, and Ethan Van Sciver over this book and the labeling of it as pedo shit. Is that I hope that helps sort of set the stage for where we are here, because it's important to know. Now, this has been going on for a very long time, but something really interesting happened lately. Preston Poulter got a victory in this case. Sort of. Preston Poulter received what's called a default judgment, an entry of default against Vicky, otherwise known as Vickyverse. Vicky is one of the commentators. Now, the way you get a default judgment is you do one of two things. You either serve the other party and they failed to respond to the lawsuit. Court says, hey, if they're not going to respond, then we can just assume that they agree and therefore they're in default and they lose, right? We'll take the complaint as written, and if they don't want to fight it at all, then it must be correct, because we are in an adversarial system. So if you're in an adversarial system and only one adversary shows up, the other one forfeits. Simple, right? So Vicky, they say they served Vicky and that she then forfeits. Therefore, she loses. So she is currently a loser in this lawsuit. And let's take a look real quick at the actual proof of service. Now, this is going to, let's everybody calm your tits. But this is where it is right now. So here is the scanned image. Now, it's very important to know that there will be some addresses on here. Please be advised, these are public documents, and there's another reason that this is not doxing. Okay, there's another reason that this is not doxing, and I'll get into that in a minute. But please understand, and nothing in here is intended to constitute any harassment or targeted anything towards anybody. I don't do that. But that being said, so here is the return of service. So to initiate a lawsuit, you have to serve it on someone. You have to give it to them in a legally recognized way. That's called service. And what you give them is called the process. So service of process is serving the thing onto the person. And there are rules for how you do this. It's the rules of federal civil procedure or the local rules of state civil procedure for each particular state that they're in. All right. So here we have this return of service. This is basically a sworn affidavit that says that the person affecting the service did it. They're telling the court, I promise you I did the thing, right? That's important. Plaintiff John Lamont and Preston Poulter, lovers forever, versus defendant Dean Assa, whoever that is. It's supposed to be Asaf, aka DA Talks, also DA Talks, not DA Talk. Victoria Kundert, aka Vickyverse, and Ethan Van Sciver. These are basic errors. How do you have in one line 3 different errors that should have been caught? But anyway, this is for Eric Fine of the Fine Law Firm in Dallas. Received by Cal Process Service on the 12th day of October, 2021 at 7:37 a.m. to be served on Victoria Kunder, not Kundert, apparently, aka Vickyverse, 7701 Warner Avenue, apartment number G122, Huntington Beach, California, 92647. There's a problem with this. If you're familiar with Vickyverse, I don't actually believe that that's her address. In fact, this is in California, and I believe that Vicky lives in the Carolinas. All right, so hold that thought. I, Richard Steiber, do hereby affirm that on the 14th day of October, 2021 at 7:20 p.m., I affirm, I tell the court affirmatively, I personally served by delivering a true copy of the summons in a civil action complaint with the date and hour of service endorsed thereon by me to Victoria Kunder, aka Vickyverse, at the address of 7701 Warner Avenue, apartment number G122, Huntington Beach, California, and inform said person of the contents therein in compliance with state statutes. That seems to be, that seems good, right? He wrote it down. It happened. Unless it didn't happen. Unless this actually didn't happen because maybe this isn't where Vicky lives. I know Vicky's in the chat. If she wants to confirm or deny that she did not receive this in the chat, I'm not giving you legal advice or telling you what to do, but you could certainly tag me and let me know if you actually got this document, or if you live in California, or if you were in California. Here's the issue. What is this? Pocket Jack Comics is Preston. She already said that's not her address. Okay. Okay, thank you. I can't see everything. So Pocket Jack's Comics is Preston. This is his Discord profile. And let's remember, this is on the 14th day of October at 7:20 p.m. I have an update regarding Victoria Kundert. Okay. October 14th, 2021, 7:20 p.m. Personal service obtained on the defendant. She did not want to accept the documents after opening the door and was informed that she has no choice. Service was then announced and the documents were left at the door. With who? With who? So the person said, right? Personally delivered to Victoria Kunder, aka Vickyverse, at this address. Left at the door. She did not want to accept the documents after opening the door. That's not on the affidavit. Why isn't that on the affidavit? We have two different stories here. Who did they inform? Did they check her ID? Did they verify that's her? It's not listed on the affidavit. So now we have an interesting predicament. So currently, make no mistake, Preston has won against Vicky currently. But what did he win? If Vicky has not received service and therefore has not received legal notice of this, this is not advice to you, Vicky, by the way. This is not legal advice. You should talk to a lawyer. You should talk to a lawyer in your own jurisdiction about this, to be very, very clear. Or maybe in the federal jurisdiction where this is filed. However, let's just getting back, which is in Texas, I think Central Texas or something. But hypothetically, he has won something, but he has to collect it. And so therefore he has to lodge the judgment in the local jurisdiction to Vicky and then try to enforce that judgment on Vicky. If Vicky's not at that address, if Vicky's not within that jurisdiction, that poses a problem. If Vicky's never seen this document, that poses a separate problem. Vicky can at any time, and certainly once she receives legal notice of this, she can employ counsel to go ahead and file to vacate the judgment. Say, hey, I never actually was served. I don't live there. I don't know who that was, but it wasn't me. Here's where I live. And she can tell that to the court. And the court can say, what's going on here? And Preston can try and fight it, I guess. He can say, no, I definitely served her at the right place. Be like, but they're saying that they don't live there. They've never been there. Prove that it was her. Do you have proof? Did the process server get a signature? Did the process server verify ID? What are we doing here? I think it's Rule 60. We saw a similar thing with Joshua Moon versus Melinda Scott. She obtained a default judgment. Joshua Moon moved to vacate that default judgment for improper service. There you go. By the way, the excuse of, well, they saw the documents and are aware of it because they popped up online, that's not service. You got to ask the court for alternative service. Service has specific rules in specific jurisdictions. And I'm pretty sure delivering service to someone who is not the defendant at an address 3,000 to 4,000 miles from where they reside is probably not service. Probably not. There is actually a way that it could be. Let's say it's Vicky's mom, and Vicky is temporarily living out of state with intention to come back to her mom's house. Or maybe it's a roommate of Vicky, and that's an address that she intends to return to after a period of time. Maybe she's away for 3 months for work. I don't know. This is all hypothetical. There is a way where you could serve someone thousands of miles from where they are if their actual permanent address is where they're served, and they're served to a competent adult. And again, that gets into, do they intend to return? How long are they gone? Do they intend to stay where they are? Those types of questions. Those aren't for me to argue. That's for Vicky to deal with. But right now, all Preston has is a piece of paper that says he won something from Vicky based on something. Now, she has a reasonable amount of time to challenge that. That reasonable amount of time is not set in stone anywhere, but oftentimes it could take up to a year. And a reminder that if she's not been served, then she has not been given legal notice of this. Again, I'm not giving her legal advice. She should talk to a competent attorney in her own jurisdiction about how to handle this. But she could make a special appearance to the court and say, yeah, we're going to move to vacate that. They've not served me. They're well past the time limit on service. I have no obligation or duty to make service easier on them. This is a ridiculous lawsuit anyway. And if they failed to serve me, it's because they failed to do their due diligence. I have not been, because I'm pretty sure she's not been overly discreet about where she is. But she doesn't have to tell them. So that being said, this is all regardless of your opinion of these individuals. I don't care if you like John Lamont or Preston. If you're into that comic book they made, you may need to be checked. But I don't care if you like those guys. I don't care if you like Vicky. I don't care if you like Dean, and I don't care if you like Ethan. That's your issues to deal with. You deal with those however you want. I'm not here to defend or promote or denigrate any of these parties. This is just what the law is. And you may think that these parties are guilty as hell, or you may think they're completely innocent. That's irrelevant until you have service. So that is that. That's the update on Preston Poulter. It's been a long time. I wanted to make sure people knew that I'm still keeping some track of these lawsuits. But that's it. There you go, guys. Whew. All right. I'm kind of wiped out from fiery rants. So I think what I should do now is read the super chats and wrap up the show. What do you guys think? Is that a good plan? I think it's a good plan. It's my plan, so I'm biased. Let's see. So that's where we are. I hope that's been informative. I think there might be some Libri donations over on Odyssey. There are. Zalcor says, sorry for the screw ups in the super chats earlier today. I don't know if you read my answer to your question. I said that I wasn't referring to the media, but the partyarchy. Libertarian politicians are still politicians and will sacrifice principles to grift for support. Oh, yes. I don't care about libertarian politicians. I think libertarianism as a political platform is terrible. I do not see libertarian as a political platform. They don't seem to have one. For me, libertarianism is a principle that you hold in developing your platform. You say, I'm going to go with maximum liberty as the basis of my ideas, and I'm going to move from there. That's how I perceive libertarianism, Libertarian Party, all of the politics, all of that stuff. I don't care anything about that. I have no interest in it at all. So hope that clears that up. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Neff says, hi, Nick. Hi. Hi, how are you? Nice to Lizards says, he was a fluffer boy. He said, I want it rougher boy. Gross. Daniel says, hope this helps your habit. Lol. What's my habit? Dark Cookie says, feel like shooting guns or disassembling old microwaves with energetics? Come to Warren, Minnesota, and we can have some fun. Yee yee. Where is Warren, Minnesota? I have no idea. Bitter Snuffleupagus says, Nick, how did the parents flee? The sheriff didn't even know about the charges until the day of. Plus, from Oakland to Detroit is 15 minutes. I don't. The narrative is that they fled and they were found in some building, apparently hiding. I don't know if that's true. It's just the narrative. It's the narrative that worked to get them $500,000 bail each. Whether or not they're actually fleeing, I don't know. Backgoat says, what's your favorite Eric Clapton song? It's not I Shot the Sheriff. It's not. Probably Normie, right? Like Tears in Heaven, I guess. The Squid says, it seems... no, my favorite Eric Clapton song is his rant against the Jamaicans that he delivered in like 1978. Or I wish it was recorded instead of just written down. Oh, man. Layla's a good song. That's right. Layla is a good song. The Squid says, it seems that with all the media interviews and how everyone wants to interview the Kenosha kid, would it be fair to say that everyone wants to seek Kyle? Maybe. That could be. Cledge Fenrir says, I've missed a few days. How much of a burglar, Meister burglar have you been? Burgle. Pika Warp says, Ricada Law, Kyle Rittenhouse admitted on You Are Here that he's going to Arizona State University for a law degree to go after corrupt prosecutors. Good luck. Good luck, brother. Hope he wins. Hope he gets it. Stephen Oglesby says, the golden rule, people with gold make the rules. Ryan K says, I call you fat with love and mirth as a fat who needs to lose weight but is struck with crippling procrastination disorder. Me too, buddy. I also like food. Vladimir M. Ivanovich says, ask Kyle, balls or no balls, be a legend. Do it, pussy. I don't know that we'll ever get him on the show. It's up to him. C. Goody says, people think that being gay don't be good, but it do. Too long have I been without my man. Phoenix Lord Asserman says, Comicsgate was a rejection of identity politics and creator attacks against fans in the industry. I mean, I liked my story better. Kaina says, show of hands who thinks companies shouldn't be political. Me. Just make money. Just make money. Why are you doing anything other than just making money? Ethan Matthews says, what do you think the parents getting charged in Michigan? Plan on following that case? Right now, I have a problem with it. I need more evidence to support the charges and to also suggest that the school shouldn't be charged at this point. Plan on following the case? Yes, I do. Any idea when we'll get updates on Vic's appeal? No. Sorry. Hopefully Thursday or the next Thursday or the next Thursday or the next Thursday. Crusader Saracen says, here's 1/1000th of a Lego set for your kids' Christmas. Thank you. Thank you for that. GRP poll says, Nick did blackface clown posse makeup? No. Dear God, never. Never. Confederate Dope Smoker says, cheers, Nick. Hey, cheers to you too. New Justice Project says, do you think the prosecutor is trying the case in the media And what are your thoughts on the facts as they're present so far? What case are we talking about? Kyle Carruth or the kid's parents? I don't know. If it's the kid's parents, yes, they're trying the case in the media. I think that must be what you're talking about. Ben Frail says, Sydney Watson scooped you with the Kyle interview. She did. She did. Very good job, Sydney. Again, you know, I extend the invitation. I have extended the invitation. I would be happy if he would come on. If he does not, I fully understand too. Phoenix Art Asserman says, if you like good comics, check out Soul Finder by Doug Ernst. It is easily the best book to come out of Comicsgate and currently at Iconic Comics. So there you go. Soul Finder by Doug Ernst. Scotty DU81 says, what's your favorite Anal Kunt song? I had to respell it because to bypass censors, but you can guess what I mean. Anal cunt song? I don't know what you mean. I can discern what the words say, but I have no idea what that actually means. What's your favorite? It says Anal Kunt song. What is an Anal Kunt song? Oh, that's a band? Anal Cunt is a band? I have no idea. Never heard of them. Pride or Honesty, welcome to this. The channel emphasizes attended split op boot camp during summer break 01. 5 girls approached me saying they didn't want another Columbine. I chuckled and told them I wasn't stupid. They felt guilty for years of bullying. Really? There you go. Great Loner says, never get into those situations without heavy air support. Jesse Barr says, what's your advice for someone who really wants to make YouTube videos, but is struggling to get over the hurdle of worrying what others will think / say? Stop. Stop. Don't worry about it. Like, look, if you're going to do YouTube, if you're going to do even Twitter, you can't be concerned with what other people think. You can, I mean, the concern you should have is, will people listen at all? Will they tune in? That's a valid concern. But don't worry about what other people will think. Because if you're worrying what other people think about what you say, then you will say things that you think they will like. That's not what you should say. Be authentic. Be you. And if people like what you have to say, they'll stick around. If they don't, they won't. And you'll be the same place you're in now. So just don't. The Rowdy Pope says, I believe you do a poll on how many viewers participated in peaceful protests. I contend the people who are participating are not the brightest. A new dislike button says, notice how these people always chase the guy with the gun. The left is creating a community of mentally ill and depressed people who hate life. Miranda Sinistra, welcome to Paralegal, and says, Miranda says, I'm drunk, so I'm super chatting. Hi, Nick. By all means, drink more in future streams. No, thank you very much, Miranda. Glad you're enjoying the show. I would think that you are. Emphasize says, I'm a farm boy from Florida. What do they grow on farms in Florida? Is it drug addicts? Is that what come out of the ground there? The girls that approached me were part of Teachers and Preachers' Daughters clique. Oh my God. No, thank you. Will H says, the whole world was crying when Kurt went Kobang. When Eazy-E died, though, it wasn't no thing. Rapper dies of AIDS and you hardly mention it. Rocker blows his face off and becomes a legend. Again, I don't know if he did it or if Courtney Love did it. True Anana Shabada Bad Pressure Bada Care says, I have a huge problem with our justice system. It says when reasonable people would think way too often. Have you been on the internet? Reasonable. Bearded Gamer Dad. That I think that was from the context of that law professor. Bearded Gamer Dad says, more for the booze fund. Good GG. Thank you. Oh, damn it. I missed this earlier. General Isimo. Sorry, I missed your chat, buddy. Says he's only wigging out about this because he missed his last period. Also, loved your topless flashcast appearance. You may have been facing the camera, but I know you were looking into my eyes while you inhaled that calzone. It was a good calzone. I was so hungry. Oh, so we had a really good dinner at the charity auction, but there were no carbs at all at the dinner. And like, look, you don't have to have carbs to get full, but if you don't have carbs, you need a lot of protein, right? All I had was a little bit of protein, like a little thing of salmon like this, and a little thing of Wagyu steak like this. This is not a lot of food. Like, I need a significant amount of protein, or I need some carbs, just some table bread or anything. All I had was that and liquor. It was really good, but I just wanted more. Or just some bread. The real Bambunga says, all hail Arby's. His will be done. Mark Gee says, Arby's Volt. Willie Fisterbottom says, read the room, Binger. Andrew Gobin says, do I still have rights if my mom had a C-section? No. Mark Gee says, C-sections are false humans. I'm not worthy. Correct. I mean, at least you know, right? That's why God puts scars on women when they have C-sections as punishment for recognizing that their babies will never be people. I kid. I'm joking. 2 of my babies were, of course, delivered by C-section. So, oh, by the way, have any of you ever watched a C-section? It's rather horrifying. So first of all, they slice open the woman, right? And then they like a Clive Barker nightmare, pull her skin apart. And they're like yanking on the skin so the doctor can reach in and grab the baby, right? And then they stitch up the uterus and everything's great. And then this is what I witnessed, okay? So Lady Raggets is laying there. She's like, generally in essence, she's awake, but she's numbed. Because this was an emergency C-section. It had to happen very quick, and it was very fast. Our doctor was great. So she's laying there. She's awake, but she can't feel anything. She's epiduraled, and there's a big cloth in front of her body, like, so she can't see her own body because what's happening down there looks like a Civil War nightmare. But I can see. Because I'm just on a stool off to the side. And what I see is a doctor walk up with a pitcher of water. And the nurse pull up the stomach skin flap. And the doctor just pours water into my wife's abdomen. And then he sticks his hand like up by like where I imagine her lungs are. Like under the skin. He just reaches up in there. He's like jostling the water around because you got to wash that thing out. And she's sitting there like this, right? Like just bouncing. No idea. And I'm like, his hand's like in your body, sloshing the water around. It was nuts, man. I'm sitting there like, what the hell is happening? It was horrifying. There's blood all over the floor. There's like this big garbage can full of just bloody rags. It was a mess. It was very brutal. It's cool though. Everything worked out just fine. C-sections are wild. That was the third baby. Let's see. Squizgar 2322 says, praise be Armies, home of the blessed roast beef, and all God's people says we have the meats. I'm just mad that Arby's got rid of the potato cakes. Man, I like potato cakes. Liquid City says, funny question. Have you ever shown up to a trial hungover? No. Why? I would never go to a court hearing or a negotiation or anything involving my client having drank the night before. That would not be a thing that I would do. Crazy Han says, how many super chats do I need to send to get Mr. Rackets to come to Australia and fix our constitution? I don't know if I'd even be let in. I don't know that I'd even be let in. So Wesley Gould says, do you know where I can get a copy of the Living Constitution? I want to go check to find out what's in it. No, nope. I have no idea. Seth Covington says F, J, and then B. Thank you, Seth Covington. FJB. Very good. Trinity says, did you hear the new vaccine mandate song being sung around the world? It's great. No, I did not. OKC Rebel says, what do you think of Germany/EU trying to abolish the Nuremberg Code? I haven't read anything about it. Here's one thing I don't trust in this world. It is Germany. That's all I got. Daniel Hawk says, my rights are not up for a conversation, let alone a vote. Quoting Michael Malice. Jay Forte says, your rants on natural rights is on point. I had taught/beat into me at a young age about those. It was only until recent years that I became a dad that I realized the wisdom in my dad and granddad's words. Yes. Yeah. And Jay Forte, thank you for that. If I would have noticed both of those at the same time, I would have read them earlier, but my apologies. No, that's it's correct, right? Like you don't, and when you're a kid, you're not thinking about rights. Like you can have some adult lecture. Listen here, you little shit, and tell you about your rights. Oh, my head. You have them. You're born with them. Can't be taken away. If they are taken away, you should shoot that piece of garbage, right? Like you can have that uncle do that or whatever, but it tends to be when you're older that you realize that no, you do have these rights, and these rights matter. They really do. It's not just some theory. Evie Warner says, I'm about to get in an argument with this guy on Twitter about whether you're really an attorney. Like, what's wrong with people? Don't bother. There's a bunch of people on Twitter who don't like me because of something I said at some point. I probably called them fat or a mutant or said they were a horrible person or said that they like, eating feces. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's an easy thing for them to say, oh, he's not an attorney. He's not a real attorney. He's never done X. He's never done Y. I've never said that people should listen to me because of X thing. In fact, most people who ask about like my show, I say, oh yeah, I do. They're like, oh, I heard you're on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, I do a live show. Don't watch it. I tell people, I actively tell people not to listen to me. I'm thankful for the people who do. It's great. I love having you guys here to listen to me rant. It's the best job ever in the entire earth. But I'm not out here promoting like me as some arbiter of truth or special knowledge. I'm just a guy spent too much money on education and can translate some of that into normal people talk. And also, I'll tell you flat out that lawyers are bad people. I just try to be honest. So don't ever feel compelled to defend my honor or career status online. There's no purpose because it's a red herring anyway. Dead Cert says, bruh, I DM'd you about James Freeman on Twitter. Check it for real. Auditors are hilarious. I'll look into it. Definitely. S. Cybertaz says 80 years ago, Imperial Japan had one of the first effed around then found out moments. The current government fascist should take note. No, I see Japan is evidence that we should never nuke anybody. I used to be pro Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good decision. We got rid of those crazy imperialist monsters in Japan. But then in my older years, I realized that after nuking Japan, they created anime, and that alone should be, that's like worse than having a nuclear arsenal. The deterrent that another anime may be created, you can't nuke them. Can't do it. Colin Shaw Indie Games says, been meaning to super chat you. Oh, thank you. I've been meaning for you to super chat me as well. Thanks for your awesome legal anal ISIS. Seriously, thanks for streaming at ridiculous hours. You're a good YouTube drinking buddy. What's your favorite Highland scotch, by the way? Oh, I have no idea. Is Dalwhinnie a Highland? If Dalwhinnie's a Highland, then Dalwhinnie is. But I don't know. I don't usually look for Highland scotches. Lafroig's and Isla Scotch. Dalwhinnie is Highland. Says Philly cheesesteak. Yeah, I do like Dalwhinnie. Liquid City says, do you have any funny / embarrassing personal court stories to tell real quick? Not really real quick. I don't really have any embarrassing court stories other than, I mean, one of my first criminal appearances was for a first appearance for a client, and they don't like hammer in the procedure of things. And so if you're on your own, you don't always know the procedure. And so the judge, like the first appearance, they bring you up, they say your name, they give you the opportunity to have your charges read. You can either say, yeah, read them, or most people just waive the right to have their charges read in open court because it doesn't really matter. And then they ask if you want to move to the second hearing, which is your Rule 8, or if you want to combine your Rule 8 and Rule 5 into a Rule 11 omnibus hearing. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, believe it or not, that first appearance I had for a criminal case, it didn't make any sense to me either. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I didn't say that. The judges know when there's a new person in their court, and they can kind of tell when that new person's a new attorney, and they'll kind of guide you through what's going on. And so that was a little bit embarrassing. Other than that, not really. I mean, I've told several stories. I did not do a lot of practice. I did not do a lot of in-court practice specifically. I helped a lot of people outside of court with a lot of different things, but inside of court, not so much. Not, it was not the type of practice that I ran, generally speaking. So, I mean, I did court stuff. Didn't mind doing court stuff, except it's a shitload of work. Diamond Duck says, darn old fart, you just told this story. I know I just told this story when Andrew Bronco was on, but I mean, that's my embarrassing story. That's it. What do you think about Noam Chomsky as a leftist intellectual? I don't know about intellectual. I don't think about him at all. I don't forget Noam Chomsky exists on the average day. Next. James Ligon says, law of self-defense. Andrew, why the 40 Smith & Wesson hate? I think he actually answered that in chat. Ginger Ninja says, if someone trespasses on your property and begins arguing with your girlfriend, you must exercise your right to remain silent. No interrupting. Can't interrupt there. Interjection, I think is the word, is we don't do that around here, right? People from maybe Milwaukee or Green Bay might interject themselves, but not here in Kenosha. Ibne00 says, but for cucking as an actual negligence pleading is some of the funniest shit I've seen all week. Oh no. Oh God, that's good. Carter says Kyle gave Chad's wife more than a warning shot. Oh, stop it. Kenosha Kid says chat is listening to like 15% of what you've said. You better use it. If you don't, I'll take it and use it on you. Comes to mind. Gabe the Dizzle says, why can't men sue women for intentional infliction of emotional distress when they make false rape accusations? Also, are you ever going to call back? Did you call me, Gabe? No, I'm not going to call back. Call me again. Sorry. Call me again. Why can't men sue women for that? Well, they can. They can. It depends on how they do the false rape accusations. But they have to be beyond the level of decent society. Amateur Ant says, remember Chad said you better use it, motherfucker. I'll take it and use it on you. That just seemed to be absent from those civil lawsuits, didn't it? Jackson Kai says, Nick, I think Andrew Branca is too base for chat today. He's putting us all to shame. We owe this man a drink. Dude, Branca is quickly becoming one of the more hilarious people I've ever met. I look forward to many good conversations with him as we go. And says, idea, put chat on trial or analyze trials, but role play like you're the defense and chat as the prosecution or vice versa. Interactive law games, money, money, money. I don't know how to even organize that. Christopher says, anytime I hear the words nipple rubbing, the Mortal Kombat theme comes to mind now. Thanks. Rub your nips. Jonathan Duger says, lol, a crazy person yelling at an employee at her place of business. The business owner then handles business and yet somehow has no right to intervene. I hope Kyle countersues for defamation. You gonna sue the dead guy? No, typically the other party in a lawsuit, they've got litigation privilege. It's really hard to break the privilege of them to say whatever they want in their complaint. The only way you could really pierce that privilege is typically if they say publicize the complaint on their own. That can be a way to pierce that. Angry Baneling, we'll probably do a watch party after this. Hopefully the chat wants to do a watch party on Twitch. If you do, I'm not sure what we're going to watch yet. We might just watch some Blue Mountain State, but we'll see. Or we might watch a movie. There's a bunch of movies. Nestler says Nick forgot that he was tired. I haven't forgotten. I'm still tired. I'm gonna go make some food. We'll see. New dislike button says, just a reminder that on this day in 1941, the U.S. decided it was going to start clapping some Axis cheeks. Gabe the Dizzle says, take my money for the peeing on Hot Topic comment. It's amazing how Get Out works. Lols. Master Blaster says, wait, I don't have the right to walk into a Hot Topic and pee on the clothes? What kind of communist hellhole country have we become? No, you can only stand outside the Hot Topic and pee on the people that that have bought the clothes. As Cybertaz says, that's not legal advice. Anyone else, as Cybertaz says, anyone else keep hearing his name as pressed in? Uriah Wright says, to quote John from Tennessee, that shit is trash, dog. Get the fuck off the airwave. Anthony Lautzenheiser says, this Pearl Harbor Day, please remember my former Scoutmaster McCarran, John Harry GM2/CUSN. That's Navy, I think. USS Arizona Survivor, 1930 to 2007. To Mr. McCarran, John Harry McCarran. Thank you, Anthony Lautzenheiser. We drink to his memory and his heroism. Anna Reviews says, as Lemoyne, see Kyle. So that's Lemoyne. Mandy Carvicka says, Metallica or Megadeth, this is important. Oh, God. Megadeth. Oh, it's Mandy. It's like Karavichis, right? Karavichis, or whatever. Karavichis sounds Irish. Mandy Karavichis. How you doing, Mandy? Happy to have you around. What the hell was that? Jay Griff says YouTube nuked the last super chat, I think, anyway. You should read the transcript of Juicy hand jiving his attackers in the Richards voice. Is the transcript out somewhere? I'll have to look at that. That would be great. Chank Seo Tome says, RE trauma suit. Think of the trauma the hubby is going through as Baldwin on international TV describes over and over in detail how he killed his wife. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. If anybody has the Jussie Smollett transcript and you can message it to me somewhere, that would be great. That would be great. Your paintings suck. My paintings? I don't. I've only painted a couple minis. I haven't painted. Are you talking about the paintings behind me? They're not bad. It's mean. Tavish DeGroot says, I got a shooting for you to examine. Where do I send it? You could send it to me on Twitter, I guess, or you could email it to me, or ricadalaw.locals.com. 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 Apply directly to the forehead. ricadalaw.locals.com. Apply directly to the forehead. Glenn Beck is now angry. What's he angry at? How do I keep seeing your messages? What did you do that's special? As Cybertaz says, was the C-section as bad as shunting from Society? No, Society was great. One-Winged Angel says, can you talk about recent events with Vic? I thought they were done trying to mess things up for him. They probably will never be done. They'll probably never be done. Thoughts and etc. Love you, Nick. Tis Nartmart. Hey, what's up, Nartmart? How you doing, man? I gave an explanation of this earlier, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow when I have Eric Rowland. Eric? God, I suck with names. Mr. Rowland on, who is a former Funimation voice actor. We're not going to talk specifically about Vic. Vic was actually kind of before his time. So we're not going to talk about that, but we'll talk in general about why people latch on to these sort of things. And if you rewind to earlier in the show, I did talk about why they do it. What sucks them in and keeps them for years and years and years. Poorly Redacted says, Arby's can't be a deity, not after they discontinued the RBQ. Not a chance. I'll beat the brakes right off of anyone who says otherwise. Mike D says, here's a few bucks for that C-section story. I got all sorts of childbirth stories. 5 of them, specifically. Mandy Karavicius. Mandy Karavicius. Swedish. Nice corduroy sweater, Nick. How many doormats were used to stitch that together for you? 2. Radio Ruin says, anime is proof 2 nukes wasn't enough. Dr. Thomas Diddleson, MD, says, where can I send you a shooting for you to break down? In my email. It's in the description. You can email it to me or any other public thing, or ricadalaw.locals.com. Wyatt Knutson says, greetings from northern Minnesota. With a name like Knutson, I would never have suspected that. I'll give your office a call if I ever decide to commit a crime. Cheers. Cheers to you, brother. Leave a message, please. If you're going to call my office, leave a message so I know if I should call you back. Mr. Bentham says, there are anime watchers, which are bad, but then you get degenerates that actually like slice of life. Wrong. Terrible. Slice of life. This nasty little anime where people get to pretend it's real, but it's really just people fantasizing about jerking off in their own times. Disgusting. Don't watch it. Not good. Not good. My brain is very good. Slice of life anime, very not good. Teresa Hoisington says, may need to brainstorm a plan to Schindler's List Australia before their government and China notice. No Second Amendment. They're in a real pickle down under. Look, a lot of people would pay extra for a pickle down under. Taybebe26 says, Nick, will you join me in taking a birthday shot? No, but I'll drink this liquor that I have. Yesterday was my birthday and I'm now 29 years old. Send help. Tay Bebe. Getting old is great, except for all the pain and getting fat. Except for the pain and the getting fat and the being tired all the time. It's great. Getting old is great, except for the being fat, the pain, being tired all the time, the increased bills. I mean, but other than that, it's good. Well, and the taxes. And the taxes are a problem. I mean, and the doctors that stop listening to you and make you listen to them. And all the other stuff. But other than that, it's great. Lethal Burrito says, why are you still up? Why am I? That's a good question. That's like that's existential. Yukishiro Rai says, in Judge Schrader voice, can you sing Johnny Cash's God's Gonna Cut You Down? I cannot. I don't know the words to God's Gonna Cut You Down, but that would be funny. Emphasize says, Florida farms, peanuts, corn, soybeans, cotton, watermelons, cantaloupes, and beef. How do you grow beef? If I plant some cutlets of chuck roast, do they grow into whole cows? Phoenix Lord Azerman says, was going to watch Big Lebowski on Prime. We're not. It can't. Bastard. Lethal Burrito says, I bought myself Christmas presents because I have no one to buy Christmas presents for. Win or sad as F. It's neutral, man. It's neutral. Christmas is about one thing. Like, honestly, Christmas is about the birth of Jesus. Whatever else you do during your Christmas time, reflecting on the birth of Jesus or not reflecting on it, it's up to you. Just you either like reflect on the birth of Jesus, or you be thankful that some fucking stupid Christians think that this guy Jesus mattered enough to give you a holiday. Look, I'm a Christian. I know what I think, but look, I'm willing to entertain the other positions. As look at these Christ cucks over here thinking that they matter or that this Jesus guy was important enough to get a holiday. Who cares? I get a holiday, right? What you do with that holiday is yours. Go ahead. God wants you to have it. God wants you to have it. Jonathan Duger says, on the 3rd, the last remaining Easy Company officer died at 99. Till Valhalla, Ed Seamus. Seamus? Dapper Wolf says, Nick watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean at least the first episode. Devin Stone says, YouTube won't let me post links, but I just posted a vid of me getting Viva Fry to say my Dixie wrecked for a full minute. I promise it's glorious. BG Willia says, as it's December 7th, I'd like a toast to my late father, who said to only 2 people celebrate today, him and the Japanese, buried in uniform with 21 gun salute, now on Enteral Patrol. Eternal, I think you mean. Eternal Patrol. Cheers, BG Willia, to your late father for the service that he did and for his service to you as a dad. Peace, brother. 200 Watt Studio says, got some Brillo pad. Never thought to make a sweater. Rude. Mandy Caravicius says, Carvicus says, next time you get a Karen threatening to call your boss to disbar you, answer the phone in your Trump voice and see if they crap their pants. I love getting those calls. That's the most fun thing in the world. I'm calling for the boss of Rekieta Law. Yeah, that's me. Who are you? I'm the boss. What do you want? One of your associates, Nick Rekieta. Oh yeah, that guy, he's a piece of garbage. Emphasizes Florida also farms freedom, my good fellow. And Crusader Saracen says Chomsky will soon face the judgment of God. All right, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to go over to Twitch. I'm going to watch some movie or TV or something for a little bit with the chat. Tomorrow, there will not be, the Kim Potter trial is not happening tomorrow. There's nothing going on. So I will not be streaming in the morning, 1 p.m. Central Time should be the show. Not entirely sure what we're going to talk about, but there's a lot. Maybe I'll get some Jussie Smollett info or something to catch up. I don't know. 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. I will make a link You'll see the link, all of the good things. If you're tired of not getting notified for streams, though, make sure you check me out at recadolaw.locals.com. You will get a notification every time I post something, and you'll get it right away, rather than getting a notification at some other time. Also, to the Discord, there will be a live chat Tuesday, I believe, following the stream tomorrow. Since we will not have live chat Wednesday because of the Kim Potter trial that will be taking place, live chat Tuesday will follow the stream. Think around 4 p.m. Central Time is the most likely outcome there. So, all right, guys. I hope you have a fantastic evening. I will now play the outro song. People have said that I should let people know where the outro can be found. It is from My Room Records. My Room Records is on SoundCloud, and the outro is linked in the description of every live stream. So even the ones that don't have it, it's still linked there. But it's linked in the description of this live stream. Check him out. Does great work, and I really appreciate it. So, all right, guys, I'll see you over on Twitch in a few minutes. Hope you have a nice night. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig, the spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are.